Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome along to the League One playoff final, the alternative commentary of that with Matt Isles, of course, the alternative match day commentator. And it's Blackpool against Lincoln City for a place in the English Championship. And two sides that, of course, Blackpool have been in the Championship before, but Lincoln have had their, moments themselves, not in league action, but they have had some very good FA Cup runs as well. So we'll bring Matt pretty much straight into the coverage now, and it's going to be an enthralling game. Blackpool have been in the Championship before, but Lincoln are a side that have had some very good FA Cup runs, getting to the last stages in years gone by.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, good afternoon, everybody. It's too close to call this playoff final, isn't it? I mean, Blackpool are the playoff kings, most successful side ever to grace the playoffs. Lincoln, of course, have only really sort of rose over the last few years, given their tremendous rise under the Cowleys, and this would be the tip of the iceberg, wouldn't it? The icing on the cake if they were to make the Championship for the first time in, I think it's around about 60 years. Yeah, exactly 60 years to the month since they last played in the second tier.
And of course, we've only got a couple of minutes till kick-off, so both of these sides were winners on the semi-finals. And did you catch many of the semi-finals? And from the semi-finals, who are the kind of standout players for either side are you going to be looking out for this afternoon?
Well, I think for me, obviously, Blackpool missing Ellis Sims, which is a big loss. He really impressed me in the semi-final first leg against Oxford. I think Jerry Yates is a real standout for Blackpool in terms of what he can bring in his goals scored. You look at Lincoln as well. I think Brennan Johnson and George Grant are the two players for them. They're the big hitters for me that if they turn up, they will get the job done for Blackpool.
Okay, and as we've only got about 5 minutes until kick-off, do you want to run through the two sides and how they line up today?
Yes, well, Blackpool make one change to the side that was that drew with Oxford in the second leg of the playoff semi-finals. They have the same goalkeeper and back four of Chris Maxwell in goal, Ollie Turton, Dan Ballard, James Husband, and Luke Garber are the back four. It's a midfield two of Kevin Stewart and Kenny Dougal, the Australian. There is a change and a formation change for that fact as well. Dimitri Mitchell, Elliot Embleton and Keshi Anderson are the three attackers with Jerry Yates up front. Anderson comes in place of Sims with the subs Moore, Gabriel, Thornley, Ekpateta, Ward, Hamilton and Medine. Lincoln make two changes. They go with Palmer in goal, Regan Paul, Joe Walsh, TJ Aoma and Tayo Edun as the back four. Grant and Bridcut, the two holding midfielders. They go with the same formation as Blackpool, incidentally, but Grandall's Johnson, Rogers are the three attackers with Tom Hopper up front. So Joe Walsh comes in place of Lewis Montsmoos on the bench, and McGrandles comes in place of Scully with the subs Long, Montsma, Bramall, Sanders, Anderson, Scully and Morton.
And if you look at the two semi-finals as well, Lincoln did it the hard way, didn't they? They were 2-0 up from the first leg and then allowed Sunderland back into it, and Sunderland were able to get level, and then it was that man, Tom Hopper, wasn't it, who come on and, not come on, but he come up with the goods really in the end.
Yeah, exactly. Now, that's what Lincoln have got. I think that, they've got players, if they can feel like they need to make a change, they can bring them on and they will do that. I think, obviously, that first half of the second leg, they were really up against it. The young side were really put under the microscope, really under the cosh. Sunderland really were at them straight away, but they passed that test and they did what they had to do. It was a real good second half that was played by Lincoln and Michael Appleton's team, because there was a lot of questions they needed to answer, and boy, did they answer them.
Absolutely, and it was different for Blackpool. They pretty much had it, signed, sealed, and delivered really on the back of the first leg, and they were able to do the job in the second. So as for them, do you reckon they'll have a little bit more confidence maybe going into this final? The fact that they didn't have to come back from allowing the opposition to equalise in the semi-final and then have to kind of dig deep a little bit. Blackpool had a little bit of an edge maybe, or not really?
I think their confidence will be flown. I think given towards the end of the season, they were the form side in League One. I think, obviously it was such a slow start for them. And then 2021 has been a fantastic calendar year for them so far. They're full of confidence. I think, obviously, those two semi-finals, I thought they handled it really well. The first game, they were excellent. The second leg, of course, against Oxford, they knew that Carl Robinson's side were really going to go at them and they were going to make life difficult for them and say, look, you might be 3-0 up, but we're going to make it hard for you. But they passed the test and they, were really, really good going forward as well. So the confidence will be flowing through not just Blackpool, but Lincoln as well.
And that's what's going to make for a very good final as well, no doubt. And I'm sure, if it's anything like yesterday's final between Brentford and Swansea, the Championship final as well, then it's going to have a lot of drama and a lot of good talking points for you to cover.
Absolutely. I mean, this feels like it could be a real classic. I think both sides do like to attack. Two young, hungry sides for me that have shown this year that, the motto, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I think both managers have come from youth backgrounds and they've really made it their own. And, they've given a real sustainable model now that I think a lot of League One sides who come up or, are in this division and want to build a good model will look to those two clubs and say they've done it. We want a slice of that as well.
Okay, so we've got about a minute or so until kick-off. Are the two sides out and are they getting ready for the national anthem as well?
Well, they're both out on the pitch now, actually. So, we're literally set minutes away, well, probably seconds away from kick-off, in fact, to what is an absolutely glorious Wembley Stadium, Mike.
Absolutely. So we'll hand over to you then for the first half coverage, and I'll be back with some insight at half-time.
Thank you very much, Mike. Well, this is the 49th and most defining game of the season. The previous 48 don't matter for both Blackpool and for Lincoln. It is a one-off game at Wembley Stadium where this is a place for the winners and not for the losers, as we are ready and about to get underway in the National Stadium. What is the second of 3 playoff finals. Brentford were successful yesterday at Wembley. Who will be successful here? Will it be the regular playoff kings, Blackpool, or a side who've never won it in Lincoln City, who of course are looking to reach the Championship for the first time in 60 years, as both players and officials and staff take the knee in the continuing fight against racism. And it is Lincoln who will get us underway in their away strip, just like they wore for the second leg against Sunderland. All black, as Conor McGrandles gives it to Liam Bridcut, and we are underway in the playoff final. Blackpool in their usual orange, white, orange from head to toe. And it's a Lincoln throw within the opening 10 seconds with Tayo Aidun throwing it back to Joe Walsh, who's in the side today in place of the Dutchman Lewis Montsma. And he made a big impact, did Joe Walsh, when he came on in the second half of that second leg against Sunderland 8 days ago. Him and Conor McGrandles, who's in the midfield, were important for Lincoln, who of course had a real nervy affair against Sunderland and did pass that test. The first half, they were all over the place, but second half, their young guns really stood up and held firm against Sunderland. Here is now George Grant. Ball goes in low. It's a chance for the number 9, Tom Hopper, but it's put into his own net by Ollie Turton. What a start inside 50 seconds. And those Lincoln fans inside Wembley have gone absolutely crazy. The ball put into the box. Ollie Turton couldn't turn it away and instead has put it into his own net. And within the first 60 seconds, Lincoln lead at Wembley. Blackpool 0, Lincoln 1. Well, it starts with the ball out from the right by Morgan Rogers. Then Regan Paul plays it down the line. It was to Brennan Johnson, actually. He takes on Luke Garbutt. It's a low cross in there. Looking for Tom Hopper. He made the run to the near post on the right-hand side. He missed it. And Ollie Turton just couldn't turn his body enough to clear it away. And instead, he's just side-footed it into his own net. And Blackpool, who built themselves on such a solid defence, have found themselves behind within the opening 2 minutes of the playoff final. Extraordinary start to this game. Well, he scored in the first leg. The opener against Oxford did Ollie Turton, the former Crewe defender, and he's managed to score an own goal in Wembley Stadium. And of course, it was just like 2 years ago where Naby Sarr for Charlton did exactly the same. And Blackpool have to do what Charlton did in that game, and that is to come from behind if they are to get into the Championship for the first time in 6 years. And then Regan Paul just side foots it away down the right-hand side, which James Husband leaves for a Blackpool throw. But that is a goal that really has just shook Blackpool right to the very core. And of course, you just hope now that they can just recover from this and just get settled. If they were to go 2-0 down, it would be a real disaster for them and would leave them in a real perilous position if they were to get back in the game. And remember, Lincoln came into this final with a disruption because of them arriving at Wembley slightly later than they planned. They arrived around about 45 minutes before actually kick-off began. So they've really had to get themselves prepared even quicker than usual in what is the biggest game of the season, and for some, the biggest game of their careers, as Dan Ballard has the ball. He looks up and plays it down the middle of the pitch for Jerry Yates to get under control, which he does very nicely. Of course, he's leading the line on his own today as Jerry Yates due to Ellis Sims' absence, and Blackpool have got a free kick as the referee, who's Tony Harrington, by the way, sticks his arm out to say that Jerry Yates went in with a lunge on the Lincoln midfield. But 3.5 minutes played if you're just tuning in, and it's Blackpool 0, Lincoln 1. It's an Ollie Turton own goal that has given Lincoln the lead as they take the free kick shot. They now have the possession and the ball inside their own half with Joe Walsh. Here's George Grant down the line to Morgan Rogers, but he's been closed down well there by Kevin Stewart as Lincoln have got a throw in. Tayo Eden takes it, gives it to Grant. Eden tries to get around Dimitri Mitchell, and then as he just poked it through for Tom Hopper, the clearance by the Blackpool defender Ollie Turton has gone off the Lincoln number 9 and out for a Blackpool throw. Well, Blackpool, as I mentioned just before kick-off, are the playoff kings. They've won the playoffs in 2007, 2010, 2017, 2001, and in 1992. They're looking for their 6th triumph since the playoffs inception in 1987. Lincoln have never appeared in the League One final, the 3rd Division final, but they've appeared in the League Two 4th Division final on 3 occasions. They lost to Bournemouth in 2003, and they lost to Southend in 2005. So this is their 3rd playoff final, and in 5 attempts, I should say, they've never won a single game, or they've never won a single campaign for that fact. Here is TJ Ayoma, the Tottenham loanee, one of a host of players brought into the club by Michael Appleton, of course, and it is a young Lincoln side, as it is with Blackpool. Both, of course, have got a background in youth football. Michael Appleton's managerial career is a lot longer than Neil Critchie before this season, but both have had good impacts at their clubs. Here is now Brennan Johnson, now to the number 18, Conor McGrandles. It's out on this right-hand side. Nice interchange. Johnson gets it back, puts the ball in from the similar position that he saw Ollie Turton put the ball in his own net from, and it's a Lincoln corner. But down this Blackpool left-hand side, Lincoln are having a lot of joy in the opening 6 minutes. It was nice play between Hopper, McGrandles and Brennan Johnson. He just gets that ball in, Johnson. It was a low cross. James Husband was right in front of him just to put it up for a corner. So it is the first corner of the match, which Lincoln will take. It's going to be from that right, in by Grant, good header away by Husband. It's come to Edun. Now Bridcut with the ball forward, looking for Joe Walsh. He puts a low cross in, and then it's cleared away by Dan Ballard, the Northern Irish international, who came into the final as a doubt because of a groin injury that he picked up in the second leg semi-final against Oxford, which meant he had to be substituted. But of course, he's got the nod to start alongside regular centre-back partner James Husband. Throw-in taken by Edun, which he gives it to Morgan Rogers, but the return back to Edun was a heavy one, and it goes out of play for a Blackpool throw-in inside their own half. As Ollie Turton, the man who scored the own goal, will take it. Long throw down the line, looking for Yates. And then Joe Walsh heads it out of play down that same side. Out for a Blackpool throw once more. Well, of course, we saw Peterborough and Hull get the 2 automatic places in the 3rd tier for this season. Lincoln, of course, have been pretty consistent. They've not been outside the top 6 pretty much all season. They were at one stage in 2021, very early on in it, were in the top 2. But of course, they just fell away, and maybe the young, inexperienced side just couldn't quite get over that hurdle of getting automatic promotion. And of course, Blackpool were actually in the bottom 4 at one stage this season. Not the best kick by Palmer, but not the best header by Kenny Dougal, the Australian midfielder. He heads it straight to Regan Paul. Blackpool have it down the right-hand touchline with Keshi Anderson going down. They wanted a free kick. Tony Harrington says no. Down the line by McGrandles too. Brennan Johnson, he's been hacked down there by Luke Garber, who's certainly faced Johnson a lot in the opening 8 minutes. And that's the first yellow card of this playoff final, as the Nottingham Forest loanee Brennan Johnson wins a free kick because of that late lunge from Luke Garbett. Yeah, Johnson's looked really sharp so far. Just gets that ball down that right-hand touch on. You know exactly what he wants to do. He wants to beat his man and set the cross up. He gets away from Garbett. It was a real rash challenge by the former Everton left-back. So it will be a Lincoln free kick. And certainly, despite them arriving late to Wembley for the playoff final, it certainly hasn't affected them. George Grant will take this free kick. He's got 5 Lincoln players to aim for. There'll be no doubt a couple on the edge of the box. In by Grant, and there's attacking it is Joe Walsh. And the header is one that he just cannot keep down and heads it into the stand behind the goal. It's a dangerous ball in by Grant, pretty much on the head of Joe Walsh, and he knows that if he attacks it, he's going to meet it, but he just puts a little bit too much on it and doesn't really glance it goalwards and puts it over the bar. Anderson now to Jerry Yates, who's gone to the corner of the left-hand box, taken on Regan Paul, now plays it through to Garbett. The cross is blocked. Looking to get on the end of it there was Elliot Embleton. It's hacked away by the Lincoln defence. Husband to Dougal. Now it's with Elliot Embleton, such a clever player, the Sunderland loanee. In goes the low cross. TJ Omer watches it and clears it away for a throw. And on that right-hand side, it's now Blackpool's turn to show what they can do going forward. Elliot Embleton, such a good left foot, did manage to get it on there and did get the cross in, but in the way of it was TJ Omer. Here is Anderson, tries to get it back from Embleton. Lincoln stand firm. Here's Kenny Dougal, though. Blocked by Liam Bridcut, a man who was playing in the Premier League a few years ago with Sunderland. The side, of course, who he travelled back to 8 days ago to clinch their place in the playoff final, the Lincoln skipper. And now Blackpool just have possession inside their own half here with Dan Ballard on a glorious sunny day in Wembley, just like it was yesterday. It is Blackpool 0, Lincoln 1. Lincoln were in front courtesy of an Ollie Turton own goal, and I think the actual score time, if you're going to be really precise, was around about 40 seconds in. And it is an absolute dream start. We did see an early goal yesterday in the playoff final courtesy of Ivan Toney's penalty, but nothing comes close to that one from Ollie Turton, who put it into his own net. Here's James Husband. Diagonal ball forward looking for Yates, who tries to beat the offside, and he did. The assistant's flag on that right-hand side didn't get waved. Luckily, Alex Palmer came rushing off his line to gather the ball. The West Bromwich Albion loanee, to say the least. He had to just be quick off his toes there and sharp off the blocks. Teo Weydon manages to get away from Dimitri Mitchell. Checks back to give it to Morgan Rogers, who sprays it out to the right. That's a lovely inch-perfect pass for Brennan Johnson. He tries to get the cross in, but he can't keep it in play and gets the ball on the roof of the net, and it's a Blackpool goal kick. Tony Harrington is supported as the assistants by Ian Cooper and Wade Smith, with history being made as Jared Gillett is the first non-UK official to be part of an officiating team at Wembley for a playoff final. The Australian, who, of course, if you haven't seen it, is filmed, of course, in his last game as an A-League referee, talking with his officials in the VAR. It is quite an insightful video. If you've not got round to watching it, please do. It is a real watch, that is, to say the least. As Blackpool have got a throw in with Ollie Turton. He throws it to Embleton. Turton gets it back in a tight position. Gave it to Kevin Stewart. And it was a sliding challenge, which Stewart is unable to just keep hold of the ball from. Ball's going out to Regan Paul, who's turned and just half volleyed it clear. Garbett with the header straight to Keshi Anderson. Now with James Husband, who has got some championship experience with the likes of Middlesbrough. Anderson tries to get away from Regan Paul. He got away from McGrandles at first, and then Regan Paul just stepped in front of him. And Tony Harrington gives a free kick just inside the Lincoln half, as Kenny Dougal puts the ball on the spot for James Husband to take. And it's important that Lincoln do get their defence set up right. Of course, Blackpool did score from a set piece in the playoff semi-final first leg through Ollie Turton, the man who has gone up. And is situated just right on the edge of the box. Husband with the ball in, drifts it to the back post. Looking for Mitchell. Tom Hopper gets it away. Mitchell still has it in the box. Now goes onto his right foot. Low cross comes in. The last touch has gone off Tom Hopper, who stayed back defending there and did very, very well. As Blackpool have got their first corner of this playoff final. Yeah, you know what Husband was trying to do there? He searched it out to the right-hand side of the box, looking to get a flick on. It came back to Mitchell from Hopper's header. It was put back in by a Blackpool player to Mitchell. And then he gets on his right, tries to put the ball in, and Hopper just clears it out for a corner. So it is an opportunity for Blackpool to test Alex Palmer here. Luke Garbett will take in-swinging delivery on that left foot of his from that right-hand side. Not a bad delivery. Good header away there by Tom Hopper once more. He stayed inside his own 18-yard area. The furthest man forward is actually Brennan Johnson. And then the diagonal ball out to the left was a miscued one by James Husband. He's tried to do that in the opening sort of 14 minutes. And it's gone out of play for a Lincoln throw-in. Well, Michael Appleton has never taken a side out of League One. Of course, he actually had a spell as Blackpool manager, in which he lasted just under 2 months in charge of the club before he, of course, decided to part ways and go to Blackburn. He did speak of how it was a real desperate time when he was under the control of the Oystons, who eventually were ousted as Blackpool owners and, of course, forced that it meant that it had to go to a new owner in Simon Sadler, and the club has not looked back since, with fans happy and feeling good again about supporting their team, no matter what the situation is today. Mitchell gets away from Aiden. He has got pace. Mitchell shoots low on his left foot as he tried to bend it in the far corner toward Alex Palmer's right. He didn't really get a hold of it, and in the end, it was a tame attempt by the former Manchester United youngster. He sets the chance up well. He just gets away from Tayo Aidun, and he just gets on the edge of the box. You know exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to wrap his foot around it, but the power let him down, and he just hit it straight to the keeper. First quarter of an hour played in this playoff final. Blackpool 0, Lincoln 1. Ollie Turton's own goal gives the Imps the lead. Here is now Johnson to Morgan Rogers. Just went beyond the Manchester City loanee. Aiden and Mitchell having a 50-50, which sees Aiden just clip Dimitri Mitchell, who did stay on his feet. It wasn't actually any contact on the Manchester United, former Manchester United winger, but the referee, Tony Harrington, says that the lunge was the problem on that situation. Of course, you're listening to this on the Commentary Hub, our home of alternative commentary. That's a lovely ball out to Jerry Yates. He thought about maybe trying the volley. Instead, gives it to Garbett, and he's tried to just hook the ball into the back post. It's gone off a Lincoln player, and Blackpool are having a good spell in this game that they'll be hoping that they can capitalise from. Yeah, Dan Ballard looks for the diagonal ball out to Jerry Yates. He thought about the shot, then at the last minute changed his mind, tried to get it under control. He gave it to Garbett, he put it in. It was really good tracking by Brennan Johnson just to get in front of it. It certainly looks like the last touch has gone off the toe of Luke Garbett there. Corner goes in. It's away by McGrandles. Kevin Stewart tried to get it under control. Did take his off the ball at the last moment. And then Tayo Aidun has just knocked into the back of Kevin Stewart, and Blackpool have got a free kick. Well, it was the only one who was chasing Kevin Stewart there was Tayo Aidun, and it just came to Stewart. He just tried to just get it under control and then just drill it, I think, in through the crowded bodies. That's what his thinking was. And then Tayo Aidun just chased him down, and Stewart there got a free kick in a good position. Well, Garbett and Embleton are both over this free kick. Embleton got an assist for Ollie Turton's opener in the first leg semi-final. Embleton, again, not the best delivery as he's passed it, if you like, straight to McGrandles. You just needed away, and then he's headed the resulting second ball going in out of his area, and then Blackpool have got a throw on this right-hand side, around about 35 yards away from goal. Here is now Dan Ballard. Now gives it to Kenny Dougal, a League One winner with Barnsley 2 seasons ago, the Australian. Now to James Husband. I think it is fair to say that Blackpool have settled down and have avoided the second goal going against them. That's a beautiful ball through to Jerry Yates, who will stretch the lines. They are shouting handball, and the linesman on that right-hand side was well on top of that. And Lincoln have got a free kick just inside their own half. Well, Jerry Yates is trying to stretch, isn't he? Trying to go beyond. He's got to put a lot more work in today because he's obviously up front on his own. He just tried to take under control of his chest, but his arm is out. And you have to say that it is a pretty good decision made by the officials there to say that it was a handball. It did just sort of brush against his chest before it hit his arm, but his arm was a little bit out than it should have been there. So it will be Alex Palmer who will restart the game with this kick. The West Bromwich Albion loanies missed just a handful of games this season, missed just 3 matches. He's played 56 out of 59 coming into this. This is Lincoln's 60th match in what has been an absolute marathon and season like no other, of course, given the circumstances that surrounded them, with lots of players going down with COVID and injuries really taking its toll on this young side just as they were really hitting their stride and hitting the right notes. There is now James Husband, as Blackpool, since they went a goal down, have had a lot of possession in this game. Now Garbett to Husband once more. Here's Dan Ballard, the Arsenal loanee, travelling with the ball forward with no Lincoln player within a few yards of him. Plays it to Keshi Anderson. You just find those little pockets of space. Blocked off there by TJ Oma. And Blackpool have got another free kick. Yeah, Anderson came from the left into the middle there. That's the first time we've really seen him do that. And he just tries to get away from TJ Oma, who's really touch tight to him. You can just see the little shove in the back there. That's enough to give a free kick. So this is an opportunity once again for Blackpool to work the goalkeeper. It's been a couple of free kicks where they've had to deliver it in. This is a shooting opportunity. Around about 20 yards out, Hopper, Rogers, McGrandles, and I think Walsh are in the 4-man wall for Lincoln as they try and defend this. Alex Palmer's got to make sure that the wall does its job. It will be Garbett to take. He wraps his foot round it, but it's too central and too straight for Alex Palmer. Yeah, he dealt with it well, didn't he? Did Alex Palmer. He just got his positions right. Garbett with those sort of free kicks, you know he's going to try and really put it in the corner. He's got to put a lot of whip on it, and it wasn't a bad attempt. It's a shot on target, but keepers will be hoping the free kicks come like that all afternoon should they get them from that sort of range. Anderson tries to give it to Kevin Stewart. There to pounce is George Grant. Now to Tom Hopper, who's around about 20 yards out from the Blackpool goal. He tried to just give it back to one of his teammates, but then back to defend was Dimitri Mitchell. Is Elliot Embleton coming in from the right on his left foot? Well, it looked like he was. Instead, played it with his right back to Dan Ballard. Now James Husband. Kenny Dougal. Husband now gives it to centre-back partner Dan Ballard on the pitch. Now it's with Stewart. Anderson back to Husband. He's going to look up to probably play it forward, and that was shut down there by George Grant. He was very close to him, and he has to give it back to Chris Maxwell as Ballard comfortably has the ball and has possession, and Lincoln are just letting their opponents just have the ball. Husband then does play it down the line, looking for Yates to run onto down the right, but TJ Oma reads it and then just puts it out for a Blackpool throw, which is taken quickly by Garbett. Now Dougal. Well, the possession stats of in the last 5 minutes, Blackpool have had 88% of the ball. Lincoln have had just 12, which just shows the dominance of Blackpool so far, but yet to really cause any problems on the Lincoln goal and really give them anything to think about. Here is Luke Garbett. Put under pressure by George Grant. Here is now Dan Ballard through to Elliot Embleton. Closed down well by Liam Bridcut, who of course he would have known from the Sunderland setup. And Lincoln win it back really, really well. McGrandles gives it to Hopper there, who did manage to just play it back despite the best efforts of the Blackpool defender there. And then Dimitri Mitchell down the right-hand side just has to knock it out for a throw. In 23 minutes played in the League One playoff final, Blackpool 0, Lincoln 1. A chance to play in the Championship is on the line for both. Blackpool have not appeared in it since 2015. Of course, they're looking to get back in it after 6 years away. Lincoln's is a longer wait. It is 60 years, in fact, since they last played in the second division. And in that time, they have been in non-league as well. And they were only in non-league 5 years ago. So it is a real rise that they've had under Danny Cowley in particular. Of course, Michael Appleton, who's completely changed the whole dynamic and the whole culture of the club and ethos for this season. And of course, has brought in young, hungry players to coincide with some experienced players. And it really has just fitted like a glove, hasn't it? Here's McGrandles. Gets it under control and wins a throw as the last touches are judged by the referee, Tony Harrington, to have gone off Dan Ballard. Here's Rogers to Grant. He's in space on the turn and he's hit the crossbar. Well, George Grant, with his first big moment of this final, was allowed to turn on the edge of the box in acres of space. He had so much room to try and pick his spot. He's curled it and he is not far away as the corner of the crossbar on that right-hand side of Chris Maxwell's goal saves Blackpool's bacon. You can't give that man time to turn and try and pick his spot. He wrapped his foot around it and he probably puts a little bit too much on it, but it's a really good turn and he's so unlucky. In the Blackpool midfield, Stewart and Dougal, who against Oxford in that first leg in particular were covering so much ground, would have been there to close it down. They were non-existent there and Blackpool have got away with it. Garbett looking to just try and play it through to Anderson as it was knocked out of play there by Regan Paul. George Grant, of course, has had an exceptional season. Lincoln number 10 named in the League One Team of the Year. And has had his best season since he was on loan at Notts County back in the 2017-18 season. Anderson shakes off the Lincoln challenge. It's now Elliot Embleton. Right by the byline, cross goes in, stands across that. Mitchell attacks it, and it loops over Alex Palmer and goes onto the top of the crossbar and out for a goal kick. Yeah, Keshi Anderson just knocks Regan Paul off the ball, and then he just gives it to Elliot Embleton. He just brings it back on that left foot, stands the cross up for Mitchell. Him and Tayo Eden, pretty much similar height. It's just a case of who's going to get up higher, and Mitchell does, but he just heads it over the bar. Well, that's probably the closest, besides that Luke Garbett free kick, that Blackpool have come to scoring in the opening sort of 26 minutes of this one. But it still remains Blackpool 0, Lincoln 1. On a game you listened to on the commentary hub. The third of the playoff finals, of course, Morecambe Newport from League 2 is going to be covered by Nicholas Jones, who's on the mic for that one, as both sides bid to go to League 1 for the first time in their entire history, as it's an England versus Welsh clash. In that one, of course, same kickoff time as the previous two finals, 3 p.m. Join us for coverage around about 2:45 for that one. Here is now James Husband. Of course, what these two sides are playing for is a place in the Championship and the opportunity to play the likes of West Bromwich Albion, Sheffield United. It's a good run in by Husband. Did elect to play it through to Dimitri Mitchell. Straight at Palmer, who pushes it away. Big opportunity for Blackpool there. Dimitri Mitchell, it was inviting for him. He set the chance up, courtesy of Yates' cutback, but he curled it with his left foot. Straight to Alex Palmer. Big, big chance. Husband's just allowed to carry the ball a long way. The first pass goes off Ayoma, then off Regan Paul, through to Jerry Yates. It's a lovely cutback for Mitchell to run onto, and he's got the right technique, but he's got to try and put it well away from the goalkeeper. He's got to put it towards Palmer's right, put it in that corner, but instead he hits it straight at the Lincoln goalkeeper, and it's a tremendous save. He's called into action. There is the West Bromwich Albion loan in. He makes a really good stop to keep it at 1-0. Here's Luke Garbett. Gets away from Johnson. He's got 3 Lincoln players around him. He's just got to hope for the best in that situation. It blocked off a Lincoln defender. It was Regan Paul. Then McGrandles had it on the touchline, and then Lincoln have won a free kick because of a foul by Kenny Dougal on Brennan Johnson, and it's a chance for Lincoln just to diffuse the game just a little bit, just to have a little bit of a rest, which I think they probably needed, given that Blackpool have pretty much, since they went a goal down, been searching to get back in it as quickly as possible. Here is now TJ Ayoma with the ball forward. Winning that header is Husband, but he can only head it straight to George Grant. Now to Tayo Edun. Grant again. First time we're really seeing Lincoln keep the ball, of course. Possession has been something that Blackpool have been dominant in so far. But what you can say about this so far is that Lincoln, it's been sort of not as hectic or as, wreaking havoc as much as it was against Sunderland in the second leg, but they've been very much able to just withstand what Blackpool have provided so far. This is a young side who, really got to show what they're made of and, really hold out and stand firm. And they've done exactly that so far. As the throw-in from the right is thrown by Paul to Grant. Paul gets it back from McGrandles. Regan Paul is offside. Just went slightly forward before the ball went through to him. The former Manchester United youngster who made his debut with Newport at 16 years of age. Well, it's his right arm, isn't it? As he tries to do the give and go with Conor McGrandles. The offside flag is raised. It is quite a good line that Blackpool have there, but he is just a few inches from actually staying onside. We're coming up to half an hour on the clock. Blackpool 0, Lincoln 1 in the League One player final. And a game you're listening to on the Commentary Hub, the home of alternative commentary. And it is the side from Lincolnshire who are having a grand day out at Wembley. It's only their second ever visit to the National Stadium. The first one came back in 2018 when they won the Checkatrade Trophy final. They have been in playoff finals before. 2 in total. Of course, they lost to Southend and they lost to Bournemouth in 2003 and 2005, respectively. Bridcut with the header away. Into Tom Hopper, who goes down under an arm from James Husband. Tony Harrington, let's play continue. Here is Bridcut, who's drifted out to the right to give it to Regan Paul to set him away. Taking on Luke Garbett. But Garbett just holds him off and just clears it up for a throw, as he was in no position to mess about there or just try and play around with it at the back. Yeah, it's all gone down this Blackpool left-hand side. Garbett was looking really shaky in the opening 10 minutes, but he's since improved. He's since dealt with what they've thrown at him in terms of Johnson, Regan Paul and McGrandles, who's gone out to that side in general. And, since that early shaky period, he's actually done very, very well. Lincoln have possession here with Joe Walsh. Looks up and plays a long ball forward for Tayo Edun. He's broke through the lines. Touch lets him down. And it's gone out of play for a Blackpool goal kick, as the flag is actually raised anyway by the linesman on that right-hand side. Well, it was Joe Walsh who played the ball. Well, Tayo Edun now actually looks onside to me. He just breaks through beyond Mitchell and Ollie Turton. And for me, I think the flag might have been pretty close call to give there. Free kick is taken short by Maxwell to Ballard. Maxwell gets it back. The winner of the League One Golden Glove. Here is now Keshi Anderson. Given away as TJ Ayoma intercepts that ball that was looking like it was going to go beyond the Lincoln defence. Anderson and George Grant competing with each other, which sees Anderson come away winning the ball off George Grant. Anderson gives it to Garbett. Now to Dan Ballard. Through it goes to Dimitri Mitchell. Now he's going to take on Tayo Edun. He just stands up and gets in front of him. Knocks it down the line short, but he's giving it straight to Ollie Turton. Now Embleton. Stewart gives it back to Elliot Embleton. Gets on that left foot of his. It's a deep cross looking for Yates. And it's gone well beyond him. He was marshalled well there by TJ Ayoma, the Tottenham loanee. And in the end, the cross was well defended by the Lincoln centre-back, TJ Ayoma. Yeah, the ball goes in from Embleton. You know exactly what he's wanting to do. He always wants to really wrap his foot around those crosses. He was quite successful with that delivery for Dimitri Mitchell, which of course he couldn't get on target sort of minutes ago. And that one he put in there, he's wrapped his foot around looking for Yates, but he wasn't even allowed to move. Ayoma was so tight to him. He just barely even allowed him to get beyond him. Here's Joe Walsh in the starting lineup, as I mentioned, in place of Lewis Montsma. Grant is lost out to Jerry Yates, who's driving forward. He's got Embleton to his right. He does find Embleton. He's going to go on his left foot. He went on the inside eventually. They shout for handball from the Lincoln clearance. It's Kenny Dougal who strikes! 1-1! Kenny Dougal with the goal! Blackpool back in the playoff final! Neil Critchley's side respond, and the Australian with a powerful drive that Alex Palmer could do nothing about to save. Neil Critchley celebrates, as do those Tangerine fans at Wembley. It's Blackpool 1, Lincoln 1. Game on in the League One playoff final. Well, they're going to shout for handball against Elliot Embleton. And of course, with no VAR in the playoffs, the referee's decision stands. I don't really know what George Grant is doing there. He just runs straight into Jerry Yates. He doesn't have to do a lot to win it back. He gives it to Embleton. He goes on his left. Then Walsh clears it. It does actually look like for me that Embleton can't do a lot to get out of the way. And then Dougal just strikes it underneath two players. It does hit his arm, but he can't really, for me, get out of the way of it. It comes to Dougal. He just shifts it on his left foot, and Palmer gets a hand to it. It goes under the legs of TJ Ayoma. Possibly, you could say the keeper could have maybe moved to his right just a little bit more. But you have to say, it's a really good effort by Kenny Dougal to get the ball in the back of the net. And it was really good setup play by Elliot Embleton. But Blackpool have responded. Well, the Australian Kenny Dougal, who knows what it takes to get out of this division. He was a League One promotion winner with Barnsley back in the 2018-19 season. He's played a big part for the Tangerines this season since his arrival. And he's managed to grab himself a goal in the biggest game of the season that has dragged Blackpool right back into this final. And ever since they went a goal down within the first 60 seconds, they've been the better side, and they finally got level as Kevin Stewart intercepts Bridcut's pass. Yates heads it to Kevin Stewart, trying to find Keshi Anderson. It has gone well beyond him as it goes out for a play for a Lincoln throw. As we're entering the final 10 minutes of the first half. Blackpool 1, Lincoln 1. If you are just tuning into the commentary hub, home of alternative commentary, Lincoln went behind with Lincoln went in front, I should say, with Ollie Turton scoring the own goal in the opening 60 seconds, and then Kenny Dougal scored for Blackpool around about 2 minutes ago that has seen the game level. Alex Pom with the kick, looking towards the right for Brennan Johnson to chase. He's very, very quick as the Nottingham Forest loanee, but he's not quick enough to keep that ball in, which was a real well-struck ball by Alex Palmer, intending to find Brennan Johnson. And Chris Maxwell gets the ball out of play to restart the game, which he goes short to Husband. Looks forward for Keshi Anderson to take under control. Tries to give it to Garbett. Seized upon by Lincoln and Brennan Johnson. He's been fouled by Kenny Dougal, the Blackpool equalising goal scorer. And the Australian might be getting a booking. And that's not the first time that Brennan Johnson's been sent in a heap on the floor. Yeah, he's been lively to intercept. It wasn't the best ball, actually, by Anderson to Garbett, and just tries to get away from Kenny Dougal. He just gives him a little arm. And he's probably a little bit too forceful from the Australian, and Lincoln have got a free kick. Well, it will be George Grant who will take this. It is round about 18 yards. It is exactly level with the edge of the D. In goes the delivery. It's headed away by Husband. It's Ayoma. Now hit by Aiden, but it's over the bar. Yeah, Husband with the little flick header away. It just bounced off a Blackpool chest, didn't it? And then it was just set up nicely by TJ Ayoma to give it to Tyowid. And when you get in that position, you just hope you could get it on target and work the goalkeeper. Maybe even a deflection just to take it in. But he just wrapped his foot around it, went across the ball, and he just sliced it, didn't he? Well, the noise you can hear inside Wembley Stadium, or you can see anyway, is coming from those Blackpool fans. Of course, there are some of those fans didn't even make their last playoff final 4 years ago, whether or not some of them were alive, or some of them were part of the large quantity of fans who were boycotting because of the Oystons still being in charge. But some of them are, of course, here now, the lucky ones that have got a ticket. Mitchell keeps it in with a low cross, looking for Ollie Turner, who was running onto it. Had Joe Walsh not been there, that ball goes on through to Ollie Turton, and no doubt he gets a shot away at Alex Palmer's goal as Blackpool have got a throw in with Ollie Turton just jogging over to take it as he picks the ball up from that cone on the right-hand side, throws it in short to Embleton. He gets it back to thrower Turton. Embleton just tries to dance and flick away from Morgan Rogers, but in the end, he can only flick it out of play for a Lincoln throw. As Tayo Edun gets over to take it. He will look down the line for Rogers to flick on. Hopper can't get out of the tight angle that he found himself in as Blackpool come away with it. Embleton's pass to Mitchell was a little too far away from Mitchell, but he's done well to win it back. Good tenacity shown and determination to do that. There was a little arm on Bridcut there. There was a few challenges flying in. Joe Walsh went in on Keshi Anderson. Blackpool thought they should have had a free kick there, around about 25 yards out, but the referee, Tony Harrington, said no. TJ Yoma's clearance has gone off Jerry Yates, and then Dougal's there to just try and knock it back into play, but instead he knocks it out for a Lincoln throw. Well, it was a final that basically ignited within the first 60 seconds, courtesy of that own goal from Ollie Turton. And then Blackpool managed to equalise, and Embleton shoots. It's straight at Alex Palmer. He's starting to get a little bit more freedom and a lot more opportunities to create and strike at goal in this game as the half was worn on. And in the end, his shot was straight at Alex Palmer, who was absolutely raging at Lincoln there in terms of their midfield just not doing a lot to close him down and giving the ball away. Looking over the top for Brennan Johnson. It was too central for him, and the intended target was to go to the right for Johnson, but it went all the way through the middle. Instead, Chris Maxwell picks it up. His Turton to Dan Ballard. Maxwell gives it to James Husband. Maxwell gets it back. He then looks out to the left, looking for Dimitri Mitchell. Tayo Edun wins that header. Now it's with Kevin Stewart. Just pops the ball out to Keshi Anderson. Garbutt's made the run to his right and through the middle. Anderson on the left-hand corner of the box does come into the box now. Garbutt's on the edge. Anderson gets it back. Now Kenny Dougal. Garbutt has it once more. Anderson. Dougal now to Garbutt. He'll cross the ball in. Nice height for Mitchell to attack. And he's on target with it. This time round with his head. And it forced Alex Palmer to dive down low to his right to save, which he did very, very well. Yeah, for a small guy, Dimitri Mitchell's got a really good reach. They've looked to him a couple of times to get up in the air and head it towards Palmer's goal. The first one was a poor attempt because he went too high and he headed it well over Palmer's crossbar. But that one, he got up, timed it well, gets up, good header, tries to get it away from the keeper. But the big goalkeeper, Palmer, does well to save. The Grandals to TJ Yoma into the final 3.5 minutes of this League One playoff final. An occasion that Blackpool know all about winning, an occasion that Lincoln don't know about winning. As Brennan Johnson is penalised. Oh, sorry, he's actually flagged for offside as Blackpool have got a free kick there. But it is a real test now for these Lincoln young guns. They overcame it against Sunderland. Blackpool are certainly ending the half the stronger out of the two and really are putting Lincoln under a bit of pressure. Palmer's made a couple of saves. Of course, he made that vital one from Dimitri Mitchell. He couldn't keep up Kenny Dougal's effort. But in terms of the first half stats, Blackpool have managed to have 6 of their 7 shots on target, and Lincoln, even though they have scored, have not managed a single shot yet on target. So Michael Appleton will be hoping for a bit more improvement from his team, who, of course, got off to an absolutely electric start with that own goal, but haven't really been able to build on it since. TJ Yoma looks for Hopper, tries to flick it on for Johnson to play off him, but Johnson instead was just sort of alongside him. Is Maxwell chips it out to the right for Turton, but it's over his head. Just put a little bit too much on it. He puts his hand up to say, I'm sorry about that ball there. And Lincoln have got a throw with Tayo Aidun, the former Fulham youngster. Gets it from Walsh, then plays it down the line. It's gone off a Blackpool boot. Dimitri Mitchell was the man who touched it out of play, and it's another Lincoln throw as we enter the final 2 minutes of this first half of it. Blackpool 1, Lincoln 1 in the third tier playoff final. Will be Aiden to take the throw, gives it to Bridcut. Turns away from Elliot Embleton. Now Joe Walsh to TJ Ioma. Now plays it to his right with Conor McGrandles. The young Scot gives it to Regan Paul. Teammates at MK Dons. Now, of course, teammates at Lincoln. Regan Paul gives it to Morgan Rogers. Really fizzed it into him. And his left foot, Rogers not really been able to have his say on this game so far. Anderson does superbly well to keep that in. He then manages to knock it over the head of Conor McGrandles. And then he tries to get away from McGrandles and he's fouled. It was Regan Paul who actually left one in on Keshi Anderson, and Blackpool got a free kick. Well, McGrandles was around him then. Regan Paul went alongside him as well. And I don't really see a lot wrong with that, to be honest. I think maybe it was just how he just sort of maybe knocked into his chin a little bit. And it was enough for the referee to convince him it was a free kick. So Blackpool have a free kick. Kenny Dougal's having a word with Tony Harrington over something. I'm not too sure what that's about. I think he's actually been told the Blackpool free kick taker, which looks like it's going to be Elliot Embleton, that he's got to move it back a couple of yards. Embleton will deliver this free kick. It's high. In it goes. It was headed away by Walsh, who's won a free kick. Well, I thought he won a free kick. It was actually Stewart who fouled the Lincoln man on the edge of the box to win the free kick. So we will have an additional 1 minute of stoppage time in this League One playoff final to conclude what has been a pretty enticing first half, to say the least. Intriguing as well. It certainly sets up for a good second half, as Alex Palmer will take this kick. Gets right underneath it. It does go all the way to the Blackpool defensive area, which I think Hopper actually got above Husband there, but then just diverts it out of play for a Lincoln throw. Paul throws it to TJ Ioma. Now it's with Joe Walsh. Tayo Edun tries to get around Dimitri Mitchell. And Mitchell does very, very well to stand up and win a throw for his side. And that looks like it's going to be that for the first half. Yes, it is. Well, it got off to an unbelievable start for Lincoln within just about 50 seconds. I timed it as. I could be a lot later with the actual score time, or could be a lot earlier. In fact, it was an own goal from Ollie Turton from a Brennan Johnson cross, put Lincoln 1-0 up at Wembley. But Blackpool, who dominated the ball and had a lot more chances than their visitors, were able to equalise from the Australian Kenny Dougal's low strike on the edge of the box. That means both sides going at the break level. It's Blackpool 1, Lincoln 1 in the League One playoff final.
Thank you, Matt. That's been a very interesting first half there between two very good sides, of course, sides that have finished third and fifth respectively in the division. And, as for Lincoln, well, nobody expected them to get that goal. I timed it at 47 seconds, just a few seconds even before what you said there, for the Ollie Turton own goal. And, for the side that arrived late, they certainly didn't arrive late into the game. So, they did everything they had to do at the very start of the game to get ahead. And then, of course, Blackpool showed some, fight to get the equaliser as well. They were very much on top after that, with Kenny Dougal getting them a deserved equaliser coming after 34 minutes of the first half there. So it's been a very interesting first half, and plenty of opportunities for Blackpool to add to that goal that they've already got the equaliser as well. And as for Lincoln, of course, they hit the crossbar as well, which if that was gone in, then of course they would have been 2-0 up, and then it might have been a bit of a different game. But just a stat for anyone listening, that's actually the fastest ever goal in the third tier playoff final as well. The opening goal after 47 seconds for Lincoln there. I'm not too sure who it's actually beaten officially, but it is the fastest goal in the third tier playoff finals anyway, which has been confirmed. And, it's fantastic for that first half there. Lincoln have started brightly, and then Blackpool have come on leaps and bounds and have got a deserved equaliser. Of course, yesterday we also covered the Brentford game against Swansea as well, which saw Brentford promoted to the Premier League with Ivan Toney getting the opening goal from the penalty spot for them. And then the second goal was scored by the midfielder Emiliano. What's his second name now? Marcondes was the guy that scored the second goal, and Jay Fulton saw red for Swansea as well, who are going to be applying their trade in the Championship once again next season. And Brentford are added to the Premier League for the 2021-22 season. Of course, last night we had the Champions League final for you as well, between Manchester City and Chelsea, which was a fantastic game that saw the West London side come out on top with a 1-0 lead. Sorry, 1-0 win, I should say. Kai Havertz winner for the West Londoners there, stopping the Sergio Aguero fairy tale on the final appearance for the Argentine there before he moves on to what is probably going to be Barcelona over in the Spanish division. But as for the playoff finals, we've had a great playoff final yesterday. We've had a great first half here today as well. And of course, we are going to be covering the League Two final tomorrow as well, from around about 2:45. So I think Nicholas Jones is on the mic for that one with a 3 p.m. kickoff for the League Two final. So we're going to be covering all of the playoffs finals for you. Of course, Morecambe entertaining Newport is the final for tomorrow, and we'll bring you that one also. But we've got plenty of great coverage throughout the summer as well. We've got the Euros coming up on the channel, where we're going to try and bring you the majority of those games, or as many of those games as we possibly can. We've got lots penciled in for that already. Lots of commentators already, put down for the Euros, and have said what games they want to be doing, etc. So we've got most of the Euro games already covered, but we'll have a few more added in the next few days as well. But we've got plenty of action throughout the summer. We're going to try and cover some of the other international tournaments and international friendlies, etc. as well, that are going to be taking place after the playoffs. And of course, next season we'll be back bigger and better than ever once again, covering across all of the divisions from the Premier League all the way through to League Two and the FA Cup, the League Cup, and everything that comes with it as well, internationals and international competitions, international friendlies, etc. So got a loads to bring you across the channel in the next couple of months, and then into next season straight away as well, where of course we'll be commentating on one of these sides in the Championship, and one of the sides of course remaining as a League One side. And they're just showing the goal again now. It was timed at 47 seconds, and I'm just looking at it again here now. It was good play from the Lincoln winger there, and when you look at the ball through, it's a great ball through. And Ollie Turton, I'm not too sure what he's doing there. It's a lovely side foot finish, but just into the wrong net. And, I'm sure he would have been pleased if that was at the other end, but I'm not too sure what he was doing there. He kind of looked like he couldn't kind of get his feet. I'm not too sure what happened there. It looked like he couldn't kind of direct it away from the goal, and he kind of just couldn't. He kind of got himself a little bit in a mix up there, and then was able to turn it into his own net, unfortunately for him. And just showing the equaliser as well just now, and it all started really with Lincoln sloppily giving the ball away, and it was Tom Hopper who knocks it onto him, and then Dougal. Sorry, it wasn't Tom. It was Tom Hopper involved in it originally. Sorry, and then it was Dougal who eventually got the shot away, and of course they're claiming a handball there as well. For me, that would have been very soft to give the handball there in the build-up, but it was a really good bit of play there from Blackpool. Lincoln players weren't really demonstrating too much. They did for a split second, but not for too long. And then Dougal, as Matt alluded to in the commentary, the former Barnsley midfielder, got his shot away and beat the low hand of the Lincoln goalkeeper there as well, and wasn't an awful lot he could have done about that. Just like when you look at this from this angle as well, it would have been very soft to give that as a handball. But we are going to bring Matt back in as well now, and what an interesting first half that's been. Of course, Lincoln took the lead very early on, and then as for Blackpool, they came back into it, and they actually, on the back of going 1-0 down, have been a better side in that first half, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, Lincoln, would have, those players and staff and fans would have been sleeping, thinking, can we get off to an amazing start? And they got it within, as you said, 47 seconds. But since then, I thought Blackpool really dealt with it superbly. They've controlled the game in a really good manner. They've really managed the game well. And I think it was so important after they went behind, because they do say that you can be quite vulnerable. You can just, especially in a big game like that, it can just change in a player, can't it? But I thought Neil Critchley's side did it absolutely superbly. They just grew into the game. They just stayed patient. They just stuck together, and they knew that they were going to get their moment, and they got it with that equaliser. But I thought they were very, very good in the first half. And, if anybody's probably going to be the happier of the two managers, you'd probably have to say Neil Critchley. But Michael Appleton wouldn't be overly unsatisfied, given that his side are 1-1. Yes, preparations have been disrupted a little bit, and they've kind of had it forced upon them to go out there and be, kind of out there and get their game faces on and heads right quickly. So they've gone into the break 1-0 in a game they've been, you could say, largely dominated in so far.
And yeah, absolutely. But, if you look at it in the first half there as well, they were only, about an inch away from being 2-0 up before the equaliser went in anyway. It was it Tom Hopper who had the effort? I'm trying to remember now. But it was a fantastic effort that just skimmed the crossbar, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was George Grant, wasn't it? He picked up the ball on the edge of the box. And, he's a player that you can, in this Lincoln side, give the opportunity to shoot from in that position. He's an unbelievable talent, so technically good and gifted. And he got the ball there. And Blackpool's midfield, Kenny Dougal and Kevin Stewart, I think over the last sort of few weeks in the game I saw against Oxford in the first leg of the semi-final, they just covered every position, and they didn't allow Oxford any time to shoot from that sort of area. But Grant found that space. He was picked out lovely. He opened up. He's just almost tried to be too clever with his finish. He's just put too much on it, wrapped his foot around it so much that it's gone just a little bit too higher than he expected and hit the crossbar. But that was a warning sign, and hopefully they don't give him too many more opportunities in the second half.
That's right, yeah. So, of course, it was George Grant, and he had, a very good season, did George Grant as well. I believe it was something like 17 goals and 13 assists for the Lincoln man, which is an exceptional season for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, obviously, if Lincoln are going to win this game, you kind of look to a player like Grant to really get you the quality that you want. I mean, obviously, 17 goals, 13 assists. I mean, he has been hands down one of the best players in the third tier this season. They've really heavily lent upon him to be their go-to man. And I think, obviously, you look as well, they have got Johnson, who's had a very good first season. Morgan Rogers has had a good half a season loan from Manchester City. Hopper's got 10. Scully's got 16 on the bench. But George Grant is the standout for me. And, yes, he's not quite had to have his say in the game because Lincoln have been a lot of the time out of possession in their own half. But, he had that one chance and he showed what he can do. That is a sign there that he can pull some magic out of the hat, if you like. But, of course, they do need to maybe just try and be a little bit more adventurous and maybe a little bit more quicker when they go forward. Absolutely. And when I was just looking through a couple of stats just a moment ago as well, Blackpool have actually failed to beat Lincoln in their last 3 meetings. Lincoln and Blackpool drew the game on the 10th of April, so just about, a month and a half ago by 2-2 that day, with the Desmond scoreline, of course. And then, the games before that were both won by Lincoln. In October of 2020, they were 3-2 winners. And then in the January of 2020, of course, the end of the season before, they were 1-0 winners. And it was actually all the way back in September of 2019, the last time that Blackpool were victorious over the Imps. Yeah, absolutely. And I think obviously the one game in particular, that game on the 3rd of October, it was still fairly early into the campaign. We've not even had a month yet. And obviously Blackpool, and Lincoln had such contrasting starts, didn't they? They both made a lot of changes to their squad during the long break they had because of the lockdown and obviously not being able to play the restart because, the season was obviously stopped and calculated by points per game and whatnot. And obviously the implications with that. So obviously Blackpool, started very slowly, and obviously, Neil Critchie was still finding his feet with his new set of players. They brought in a host of new players that arrived through the door. And it was the same with Lincoln. And obviously, sometimes when you get a new squad, it can have that real good desired effect that you want, and it can go the other way. But obviously, Lincoln were flying at that time. I think they were in the top 2. They had an unbelievable start to the season. And then obviously Blackpool were a different way. So that's what really does sort of stand out. But of course, I think the previous meetings, especially this season, it goes out the window in a one-off game like that because they are so evenly matched. They are so similar that it is too close to call. It just obviously comes down to who's better on the day for me, I think.
Absolutely, and that's what the playoffs are so exciting. You could have won both games, and then on the day, because obviously you're playing on a neutral pitch, obviously a bigger pitch than what you're used to playing in the league as well. There's a lot of different factors, aren't there? So when you look at the game here in particular, this first half, I think it really suits Blackpool for me, and Brennan Johnson for Lincoln has been a bright spark. Of course, George Grant as well. They're two players that of course Blackpool got to be a little bit wary of in the second half, and of course they do have threats of their own. But if Lincoln want to go on and win this game, those two, and of course Tom Hopper will be 3 very key players to winning the timeout.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, Brennan Johnson started the game very, very well, didn't he? He looked like he was going to have the better of Luke Garber every possible time he sort of ran at him or was up against him. But as the sort of first half wore on, Blackpool were dealing with him more and more. And, it just kind of, his quality sort of faded out. You didn't really see him much in the attacking sense, but he's still a dangerous player. If he's on the pitch, you worry about him given his numbers and how good a quality player he is. He's direct, he's fast, he's quick, he's strong, not afraid to, compete in terms of a challenge and take players on. Obviously, Tom Hopper does know where the back of the net is. George Grant, we've spoken about at halftime. So they do have match winners in their team just as much as Blackpool do.
Oh, yeah, of course they do. Absolutely. And we've got the second half coming up very shortly as well in just a matter of seconds. And, I didn't ask for your prediction come the beginning of the game because we only come on with just a few minutes to go. But, how do you see it going? Do you think Blackpool are going to be too strong in the second half if they're able to keep up the momentum that they've had since the equaliser and even before the equaliser as well, since Lincoln went 1-0 up?
I think it's going to be very, very interesting how both these sides start this second half. I think, Blackpool were the more controlling of the sides in the first half. I think Lincoln obviously got off to an unbelievable start. I did say before the game, obviously without giving a prediction, I could see a real classic. And, yes, it has, so far been quite an interesting game to watch. It's, not really been end to end really, has it? It's not been real frantic and, both sides really kind of going toe to toe with one another. It's almost been one side's gone in front, tried to hold it, and the other side's done desperately and has done enough so far to get back level. So I think you'll see more of a boxing match in the second half in terms of both sides really going at each other. Before the game, I did think 3-2. As I said last night, I had to stick with my gut, and I do think it will be that. And, and I do think it will be a very evenly matched second half with both sides giving as good as they've got, Mike.
Okay, so we'll hand you back over to Matt now for the second half, and it's going to be a very enthralling second half as well, with the sides evenly poised at 1-1. Of course, Lincoln going 1-0 up early on after 47 seconds, as we said, and then Kenny Dougal getting the equaliser as we're just about to get underway right now, I believe, for the second half. So over to you, Matt.
Thank you, Mike. Blackpool will get us underway for this second half. It's Kenny Dougal who will pass it back, no doubt, to James Husband, I imagine, or Dan Ballard, the two centre-backs for Blackpool. Lincoln just a bit too keen off the starting block to chase down the ball forward by James Husband, and we are back underway for this second half. Of course, an interesting statistic in terms of the playoffs since 1987, since they began, up until now, 11 sides who finished in third place from this division have gone up. Charlton, of course, did it in 2019. We did see as well, 2020, Wickham do exactly the same, and it's the same number for the team that's finished 4th place. And Lincoln, of course, finished 5th in the regular season. Only 3 sides have managed to do that since the playoffs began in 1987 up until now. No subs have been made at the break. I will just run through the 2 sides very, very quickly. From goalkeeper to attack, from right to left, it's Chris Maxwell in goal, Ollie Turton, Dan Ballard, James Husband, Luke Garbett are the back 4. They have a 2-man midfield of Dougal and Kevin Stewart in the centre of the park, with Keshi Anderson, Dimitri Mitchell and Elliot Embleton as the 3 attackers, and then up front on his own is Jerry Yates with the subs. Stuart Moore, Jordan Gabriel, Jordan Thornley, Marvin Ekpateta and Grant Ward, and Kenny Dougal lays the ball on for Jerry Yates to chase into, but Joe Walsh deals with it well. The rest of the subs, Grant Ward, CJ Hamilton and Gary Medine. Lincoln line up in the same formation. They go with Alex Palmer in goal, Regan Paul, Joe Walsh, TJ Ayoma and Tayo Edun as the back 4. Bridcut and Grant are the 2 holding midfielders. McGrandles on the right, Johnson in the middle, Rogers on the left, and Tom Hopper, the Lincoln number 9, leading the attack. The subs, Sam Long, Lewis Montsma, Cohen Bramall, Max Sanders, Harry Anderson, Anthony Scully and Callum Morton are the substitutes. Jerry Yates gives it to Elliot Embleton, flicks it away from Conor McGrandles, but he's facing Tayo Edun, who just clears it away. Kevin Stewart and George Grant both hustling in one another to try and get away from each other. Good run this by Rogers, powerful run, but he's been fouled there by Dan Ballard, who bundled him over. And Tony Harrington, the referee, wants a word with Dan Ballard, and he's going to have his name taken and be the 2nd player booked in this playoff final, and the 2nd one booked from a player in orange to go with Garbett's first half booking. Yeah, it was good play there by Morgan Rogers. He just had to carry it forward, didn't he? Really, he didn't have any help alongside him. He didn't want to go back, and Dan Ballard is all over him, isn't he? But, you know, whether or not that is a yellow card offence, I'm not actually so sure, but of course he's got to be careful now. Free kick is taken short by Grant to McGrandles. Bridcut to McGrandles once more. He then plays it out to the right with TJ Ayoma, who has to stretch to get a hold of the ball, then knocks it forward despite Jerry Yates coming across his path to close him down. That's a lovely ball down the line for Rogers to chase Husband with. And Husband has cleared it out despite Rogers going into his side. And Lincoln have a throw, which Regan Paul will take. Looking for options left and right as he turns his head just to wait for someone to come up and support. In front of him was Rogers. Paul gets it back. Knocked into Rogers by Hopper. Hopper gets it back. Dougal is alongside him, nibbling away. Here is now George Grant, who's already come close in this playoff final. Tayo Edun. Now Rogers gives it to Edun again. While stood up there by Ollie Turton, who's been fouled. Free kick. Edun can't believe that a free kick's been given, but I think if he saw that back, he'd realise that it was a good decision by Tony Harrington. He just gets in front of him there, Ollie Turton, doesn't he? He just wants to get it away from him. Yeah, he just clips his heels. It's enough to make Turton go down, and easy free kick for the referee to give. He's supported on the assistants by Ian Cooper and Wade Smith. And of course, there is a 4th official from Australia in Jared Gillett, as I mentioned before. 4 minutes of the second half gone. Blackpool 1, Lincoln City 1 in the 2021 playoff final. Blackpool have won this game before in 2007 when they won the first ever one at the new Wembley. Lincoln never won a playoff final in the Football League, hoping to change that today by returning to Division 2 or the Championship for the first time in 60 years. Good play between Turton and Embleton. Can he get the cross in from the right-hand corner? He can. 2 Lincoln players, Regan Paul and TJ Ayoma, just got in the way of each other, but luckily they just about got it away and avoided a real comical error of sorts. Yeah, Ayoma and Paul just miscommunicate. Ayoma's trying to clear it, and I think he's actually trying to clear it well away, and Paul just gets in front of him and actually takes a nick off the Lincoln right back. First corner of the second half, which Luke Garbett's going to take from the right. Swings it in with his left foot right into the middle. Palmer with the punch away. Turton knocks it back to Luke Garbett. It just takes a couple of steps back to let the ball receive in front of him. Turton's there inside the box. Now goes out of the box to try and clip it in. Stands the cross up. Away by Hopper. On the edge of the box is Kevin Stewart, but it was never really on that attempt. And it was a wild swing as he was off balance, and It just sort of skies off his foot and goes well over the bar net for a goal kick. Yeah, good header there by Tom Hopper. He's just sat in front of the goalkeeper, Alex Palmer, on the 6-yard box to just head that away. You can only head it to the edge of the box. And when you get in that position, as Tayo Edun did in the first half, you just want to try and work the goalkeeper, or just get some sort of block in there from an opposing player or your own player to go toward goal. But Kevin Stewart just didn't really set himself for the shot, did he? Almost felt like it was a last-minute decision from Kevin Stewart to take that shot there. And obviously it did not work out as he intended, as the ball looking for Tom Hopper has gone well beyond him, and Chris Maxwell just keeps the ball at his feet outside of his own area. So he's no doubt going to play it to his right with Dan Ballard, which he does. Now through to Kevin Stewart. Now to Turton. Back to Dan Ballard. Lincoln very much been out of possession in the opening sort of 51 and a half minutes of this playoff final. Husband comes forward. Strolling into Lincoln's half. Keshi Anderson's back to receive the ball. Now Dan Ballard. Here is now Kevin Stewart. Kenny Dougal. Stewart again. And now Ballard goes back to Chris Maxwell. And now Husband now has it. Has been allowed to travel with the ball at certain points. Looks for Dimitri Mitchell to try and turn and get in behind Tayo Edun, but it is one that's only hit out for a throw-in. But Neil Critchley claps and puts his hands in the air to say he liked the idea that James Husband was trying there. Well, he's done that a few times, hasn't he? Tried to search it out to the flank. James Husband, as we know, is a left back by trade, but a converted centre back. He does know how to put a good ball in and pick a pass out. And Neil Critchley's obviously seen that with him and slotted him in at centre back with Dan Ballard. It's been a really good fit, and you know, he is somebody who can pick out a pass, but just there it just wasn't right. Turton with the long throw, really high throw as well, gone all the way toward Joe Walsh, the Lincoln centre back, who just decides to knock it out for a throw. While the picture showing there is Ian Holloway. Took Blackpool to the Premier League back in 2010. What a moment that was. And they beat Cardiff 3-2 in probably the best first half of playoff final football you are ever going to see. As Elliot Embleton skips away from McGrandles. Now gives it to Dimitri Mitchell. He'll cross it in. Not the best cross. Turton flicks it on. Here's Jerry Yates. Can he turn on the edge of the box? It's Dougal. He strikes and scores again. Same position. And same outcome for Kenny Dougal. Blackpool lead by 2-1. And he's the hero this afternoon at Wembley. And Blackpool lead by 2-1 against Lincoln City. And it's the Aussie again with the goal. Well, Blackpool really worked this well, but Lincoln, who found out what Kenny Dougal can do on the edge of the box, don't deal with it again. Turton gives it to Yates, and he knows the shot's not on. It's really smart play to just face away from the goal and just give it to the edge of the box to Kenny Dougal. He doesn't really put a lot of power on this, but what he puts on it is a lot of placement, and he puts that well into the corner. Alex Palmer is nowhere near it, and as soon as Dougal hits it, you know it's going into the back of the net. He's gone forward a lot in this game, and the 2 times he has done have been to great effect, and it's gone right in front of those Blackpool fans as well, who are waving their scarves and jumping up and down. What a moment for them as Blackpool lead again. 2-1 up. The playoff kings, as we know, could be at it again with another promotion. And of course, they conceded really early on in the first half. They've scored within the first 10 minutes of the second half to turn it around. And the Australian Kenny Dougal is the hero. And the Blackpool fans have now found their voice again inside Wembley Stadium. It is a day that they know so much about. They have, of course, won the League Two, the League One, and the Championship playoff finals within the last 15 years of this new stadium being opened. And they look like they're going to do it again. And they usually come here. They don't come here empty-handed. Hopper tries to give it to Morgan Rogers, but it's defended well by Dan Ballard. Out to the left it goes with Embleton. Tries to play it through to Yates. Good defending there by Joe Walsh. Now Lincoln have really got to come back. They came back against Sunderland to take themselves into the final. Now they've got to try and equalise to keep their dream of getting into the Championship alive. And Michael Appleton did openly admit that them reaching the playoff final this year did go 2 or 3 years ahead of schedule. Of course, they are building for the future with this young side. Whether or not a lot of these young players, in terms of the loans, and Brennan Johnson, Morgan Rogers, and TJ Ayoma will be here for next season, or they might be going on to bigger and better things. Time will tell. Ball forward by McGrandles is cut out well by the Blackpool defence, and then Bridcut runs into Elliot Embleton, of course. He doesn't know what his future is, of course, the Sunderland loanee. Certainly would think that if Blackpool were to be successful today, they would be making that move a permanent one, given the impact he's had. Ball forward by Palmer. Rogers and Husband were both jumping there, both missed them. And then coming across to clear it was Dan Ballard, and knocks it out of play for a Lincoln throw. 11.5 minutes of the second half play. Blackpool 2, Lincoln 1. Kenny Dougal with the equaliser and now the goal that has put Blackpool 2-1 up. As it stands, they are going on their way to the championship and returning after 6 long and at times grueling years, as George Grant has been fouled by Ollie Turton, and it's a free kick down this right-hand side, which was spotted by Tony Harrington, the referee. There was a ball played out to Grant. Just tries to take it on the chest. It does look like that Turton's just giving him a bit of a whack, and a pretty easy call for the ref to make. So George Grant will deliver this free kick. They really need him to pull something out of the hat, don't they, if they are to get back in this playoff final and make it an even more interesting game. It will be Grant who puts the ball in. Not a bad delivery. Hopper attacks it, misses it. There was 2 Lincoln players arriving. Regan Poole was one, I think. TJ Ayoma was the other one. Ballard and Husband both went to attack it, but it did go well beyond Ayoma and Hopper before they even were going to be able to really stick a foot out. Well, Grant really whips that ball in. It's a dangerous delivery. Tom Hopper's the target. Of course, he scored with his head in the playoff semi-final, second leg. Just goes beyond him. But Blackpool's defenders, Ballard and Husband, really just made sure that it was going to be hard for Hopper to even get that toward Chris Maxwell's goal. The Blackpool captain, Maxwell, restarts the game with the kick. Flicked on by an orange shirt in Keshi Anderson. Lincoln wearing there, of course, unusual away strip, which is all black, like they wore for the playoff semi-final. Blackpool, of course, wearing their traditional orange, white, orange from shirts to socks. Cleared up the pitch by Regan Poole. Husband underneath the header. Headed on there by Hopper now to Brennan Johnson. This is a good forward run. He's taken it a long way, but Ballard has to just clear it out for a corner. Maxwell came out, and Ballard just wasn't sure and just had to put that out for a corner in front of him. Brennan Johnson just received it there, but it's taken short as Grant tries to get the ball in. Keshi Anderson stopped the supply in. But Lincoln trying to catch Blackpool out there, but it's another corner for them to defend. They're just going back to that. It was a really good run by Brennan Johnson. They've almost looked at him at times to try and do that in this game, and they just got in front of Ballard. You just had to knock that out for a corner. Grant this time deliver it into the box. It's headed away. It's come to Hopper on the edge of the box. He just couldn't get that first touch right, and then I think Kenny Dougal was there to clear it away. McGrandles down through to Grant. Now to Brennan Johnson. Gets his body up. Goes down. Tony Harrington says no. He's convinced it was a penalty. The referee thinks differently, and Blackpool now come away with it with Anderson. But he's been denied by TJ Ayoma and makes a good slide-in challenge right in the middle of the pitch. It's the first big penalty shout of this game. Not enough in it for me. Not enough contact. Yes, Johnson gets in front of Husband, but he just stands up well. And it's just, yes, he has put an arm in his back, but it's not a shove or an arm there. He just uses all his defensive nous and positioning to just be smart in that situation. Headed on by Bridcut. Stewart heads it forward. Bridcut takes it under control, the Lincoln midfielder, but he's giving it straight to Jerry Yates. He now gives it to Keshi Anderson, who's sent tumbling to the floor. McGrandles did well to outmuscle him. Free kick is not gone Anderson's way, as now Lincoln are in possession. An hour gone of this playoff final. Blackpool 2, Lincoln 1, and a game you're listening to on the Commentary Hub, the home of alternative commentary. Ollie Turton now driving forward from right back. Gives it to Dimitri Mitchell. Goes inside of Tayo Edun. That's a good challenge by the Lincoln left back. Grant can't get away from Stewart, but Edun can as he nutmegs him. And he's got the pace to match. He plays it through to Tom Hopper. Really good foot by James Husband, who's now out of position. Aiden could try and attack in here on this left-hand side. Plays it to the edge of the box. It's gone on through to Bridker. In now to Brennan Johnson on his left. Then tries to go on his right. Still has the ball at his feet. Crosses it back in. And then it's cleared by Dimitri Mitchell. Nearly carved out a chance there, Brennan Johnson. It was a bit messy in terms of him setting the chance up. But Blackpool just about got away with it and just dealt with it enough. Comes to Tayo Edun there and he plays it to the edge of the box. I think he's actually looking for Bridker and he finds him and it comes to Johnson. He tries to go on, he goes on the left on the inside, then goes on the outside on his right. It cannons off goal, but then he does manage to get it back and put it back in. And then Mitchell just clears it away. Out to the right it goes. Regan Paul did take it on the chest, but he was out of play when he did take it under control. And it's gone for a Blackpool throw on this left-hand side. Well, this is where Lincoln now, you hope, can give a reaction. Blackpool certainly did that after they fell behind. Now, can the Imps do that? Of course, if they don't, they lose another playoff final, their third one in their history, and another playoff campaign where they've been unsuccessful in. As Callum Morton's going to come on, of course, on loan from West Bromwich Albion, a man that Michael Appleton knew from the academy when he worked there as an assistant coach under Roberto Di Matteo and Jimmy Shan in his various times in his two spells at the club. Jerry Yates putting George Grant under pressure. Bridcut with the ball forward, but it's a ball that he's just sent all the way out for a goal kick for Chris Maxwell to go and get. So Callum Morton's going to come on, a different dynamic. He's going to certainly have a lot of pace as Tom Hopper will be replaced. The man whose crucial second leg goal set up their place in the playoff final and for today's match is replaced 17 minutes into the second half, 62 minutes in total for Callum Morton, a man who scored in the playoff final last year for Northampton as they thumped Exeter by 4-0. And of course, he's only just got 2 goals this season as 3 goals this season as Callum Morton, how he would dearly love to add another one to it this afternoon. Tayo Edun gets it under control. Down the line for Bridcut to chase, but it's going to go well beyond him and out for a Blackpool throw. Well, it is time to make yourself a hero for Callum Morton, isn't it? He played a big part in Northampton winning the playoffs last year, of course, in which they actually overturned that first leg deficit to win 3-0 at the Johnny Rock Stadium and then, of course, beat fellow West Country opposition in in Exeter in the final. Bridcut then tries to chase down the clearance and it just bounces off his shin out of play for a throw. As Ollie Turton is going over to take it. He just spins the ball in his hand as he strays forward. Long throw. He gets a lot of height on it, doesn't he? Does Ollie Turton. Really generates a lot of power in those arms, but Lincoln deal with it well. Embleton just gets away from McGrandles, tries to feed it through to Dougal. Bridcut goes down, and it's a free kick after Dougal just held onto the neck of Liam Bridcut there and sort of his trap area, if you like. So it will be Joe Walsh who will take this free kick. Takes it through to McGrandles. Here's Joe Walsh. Now to TJ Ioma. Now McGrandles. Walsh has it again. Here is now Grant looks up, tries to play it through to Tayo Edun, who was gone from left back. He's temporarily out of position. Joe Walsh has got to fill in for the moment. Hooks it away. Embleton then just gets his body up and thought he was fouled there, but the lack of appeals from him tell you that he didn't think it was. Bylard gets up above Callum Morton. Grant now with the ball in the middle of the pitch. Lays it back to Liam Bridcut, who then plays a diagonal to the right. Took under control nicely by Brennan Johnson. In the middle now to Morgan Rogers. Johnson goes down, clutching his chest as he was knocked off the ball as he played it to Morgan Rogers. Anderson then goes over courtesy of the Liam Bridcut foul. And Bridcut saying just moments before, you didn't give one for Johnson going down. Why have you given that one? And Bridcut, the Lincoln skipper, has his name taken. Well, he can certainly make a case. It did look like Johnson was blocked off there by a Blackpool player. He's still on the floor now. Is the Nottingham Forest loanee. And then Bridcut did it to Keshi Anderson on that left-hand touchline. He just tries to get away from him. Tactical foul, I think, by Liam Bridcut. And Anderson is so often good at that, isn't he? This is the foul. I think that's a foul. I think Dougal just gets in front of him there. That should be a free kick. And Liam Bridcut, I think, is right to feel aggrieved there. 20 minutes of the second half played. Blackpool 2, Lincoln 1. They are 25 plus minutes away from a place back in the second tier where they last were 6 years ago, the Tangerines. Garbett with the ball forward. Jerry Yates with the touch that takes him out to the left-hand touchline. Has it at his feet, just waits for an outside run. Does play it through to Luke Garbett. That's a lovely ball. Gets away from him on his right foot, and then the sliding challenge by TJ Omer was quite a dangerous and risky one. But in this case, Omer doesn't touch Luke Garbett, and Garbett just instead touches it out for a Blackpool, for a Lincoln goal kick. McGrandles looks out for Johnson to chase. Can he get in behind Garbett? He can. Gets his body up and stands up as well. Good play there by Johnson. Taking on Garbett. That's a sliding challenge. It's a challenge which is gone for a Lincoln corner. But Luke Garbett there went to ground. And like TJ Omer just minutes before, it was a risky challenge to make. Just sort of very close to it being a penalty and on the periphery of it being a free kick. But the linesman on that side, Wade Smith and Tony Harrington, thought a corner was the right decision. Grant will take. Not a bad delivery. Morton was getting up, so was Walsh. Headed away by a Blackpool head. Grant puts it in, but it's overhit. And it's gone out of play for a throw. I think there was actually an incident or a foul in there somewhere. Well, Blackpool, of course, have had a rocky ride under the Oystons before they, of course, were forced to sell the club. Simon Sattler has now taken over. Of course, he's in attendance today. Is the man who's Hong Kong based. Of course, he runs Saganti Capital Management. And of course, he is really not just lifted a whole club, but he's lifted a whole town, which is phenomenal, really. Of course, fans boycotted. There was large protest. There was a lot of anger at the Oystons, who, of course, were unpopular in the end after such a glorious rise to the Premier League. And then after that, it just fell apart, didn't it? And bad decisions were made, and the fans fell out of love with their club. But they're all on board now with this new owner who's given the keys, if you like, to Neil Critchie to rebuild and to really build a successful team. And the big Gary Medine is going to come on now, as Blackpool will now have two strikers on the pitch as Dimitri Mitchell's afternoon is over. He can be quite happy with how he's done this afternoon. Of course, he's had two good chances, which Alex Palmer denied him from. And of course, he has put a shift in, just like all of these Blackpool players have. But Gary Medine's on. Not a bad replacement to bring from the bench, given his CV of being promoted from League One with Sheffield Wednesday and the Championship with the red side of Sheffield and Sheffield United. And, of course, he won promotion to the Premier League with Cardiff under Neil Warnock. Here is now TJ Omer. Lincoln really yet to test Maxwell since they went behind. As probably since that own goal from Turton and that opportunity from Grant, that has been the real two highlights for them. Ballard is fouled by Morton. Free kick. He did just give a little arm in the back there. Just a little follow through after Ballard cleared. He's surprised that decision is the West Bromwich Albion loanee, but I don't think you can have too many complaints about that one. Well, it is a place where, of course, you remember the day out, but only if you win, really. If you lose, it is a horrible place and a horrible thing to think about. Joe Walsh goes down under a hand from Gary Medine. Yates plays it to Embleton. There's a good challenge in there by Bridcut, who just plays it forward for Morgan Rogers. He gets away from Kevin Stewart and is fouled. It's a free kick with 20 minutes on the clock left. Blackpool 2, Lincoln 1. Ollie Turton with the own goal inside 47 seconds. Round about that time anyway. Got Lincoln up and running after an electric start. But Blackpool were in control. They managed to get an equaliser in the game with Kenny Dougal scoring from the edge of the box to make it 1-1. Then he repeated the trick in the second half, round about 8-9 minutes in, as he fired low beyond Alex Palmer for a second time in a similar position. Here's Morgan Rogers through to McGrandles. He's on the edge of the box, trying to give it back to Rogers, but Blackpool have just about done enough. Dougal's really having a go at McGrandles, having a go at Morton there, and then the free kick is given to Blackpool there as Tony Harrington does spot that that's one foul too many to his liking, and Blackpool have got a free kick inside their own half. Yeah, Turton just went in there on Morton, and he's just got his right arm wrapped around the stomach of Turton there as he's not really allowing him to move. So he doesn't actually really hold him or anything, really, give him a bear hug, if you like. It's just sort of something that the referee, of course, has spotted to give, and it's a debatable decision, shall we say. He has given a few fouls like that as Tony Harrington. Here is Keshi Anderson. That's a lovely spin away to give it to Elliot Embleton in the middle. Now to the right with Jerry Yates, who's in the box now. Little step over as he tries to get away from Tayo Edun. Anderson's there alongside him. Now to Yates on the edge of the box. Dougal's there again on a hat-trick, remember. Anderson does well to still have the ball at his feet despite going to ground. Dougal through to Medine. Back heels to Jerry Yates. This could seal it. He chips it over the keeper, but Regan Paul is there to clear. He just didn't quite get enough contact on it, did he? Jerry Yates, as he just couldn't get it away from the defence, as Lincoln just about do enough. Palmer comes out. Yates does flick it over him, and it's just sort of slowed down as he gets closer to the goal, isn't it? TJ Omer and Regan Paul there did really well just to stay calm, and then Regan Paul just has to do the necessary and just clear it away. Dougal with the back heel to Keshi Anderson. Dougal again. Anderson has it once more. Now Dan Ballard. Back to Chris Maxwell. Here is now James Husband. Looks up, plays it long, looking for Medine. He will, of course, will try and do that, win any flick on any possible opportunity, but he can only head it straight to Joe Walsh. Now Liam Bridcut. Tayo Edun. Ball forward. Callum Morton takes it under control and plays it to his right with Morgan Rogers, who's on the gallop. Goes onto the corner of the left-hand box. In the box he goes. Step over to get away from Turton. Now he's got to try and put the ball in. He crosses to the back post. Luke Garbutt heads it out for a corner. Good vital header there by the Blackpool left back to head that one away. Yeah, Morgan Rogers does well. I think he just takes a little bit too long putting the cross in. He gets in a position where he's got away from Turton. Then he goes back in. Then goes back on his right foot and then does eventually put it in. And it gives enough time to the Blackpool defence to get in the right position because they know exactly where he's going to put it, and that's to the back post. Grant with the delivery. In it goes. Attacking it was Regan Paul. It went beyond him as he was running onto it. Here's Morgan Rogers again. Taking on Kevin Stewart this time. Low cross in. Ballard just with the first time clearance out for a throw. Lincoln trying to put the pressure on Blackpool, who've not really been tested enough in this final, you'd have to say. Aiden gives it to Rogers. Good control with his right foot. Tries to get it in. Another Lincoln throw. Good sliding challenge by Stewart down that right-hand side. As Tayo Edun is going to take the throw in. If he can get it to the corner of the box, they're in a good position. He decides to throw it to Rogers, who's down on that left-hand side. Tries to get away from Yates. Edun now has possession. In the middle to McGrandles. He now switches the play. Good ball to Johnson, who tries to get it in first time. Not the wisest of decisions because he completely miskicked it. And it's gone out for a Blackpool throw. Well, they're just showing the penalty incident again. And Garbutt does catch him. I think it would have been a free kick anyway because the contact does look like it's right on the corner. But that is a free kick there. And the linesman on that side, Wade Smith, right in front of it. Bird's eye view, you could say. I'm surprised he didn't give it as we're entering the final 15 minutes at this League One playoff final. Blackpool 2, Lincoln 1 in a game listened to on the Commentary Hub, the home of alternative commentary. The third and last playoff final will be decided tomorrow. Catch us on commentary hub at 3 p.m. kickoff as Nicholas Jones will take you through the League Two playoff final as Morecambe under Derek Adams take on Michael Flynn's Newport in their second playoff final in 3 years. Turton and Bridcut will give chase. Turton goes down. Bridcut has fouled him. And it is a free kick right on the corner of the right-hand box. There was a little arm in there. Now that is a free kick. Liam Bridcut, for me, doesn't really need to put his arm out there. An experienced player like that on a booking. Of course, you don't want to give the referee any more ammunition to keep his eyes close on you and wait for every foul. And this is a really good chance for Blackpool to potentially seal it and really now confirm their place in the Championship. It's going to be Luke Garbutt who's going to take this. These free kicks in these positions always strike fear in the opposition defence and goalkeeper. What will Garbutt do here? He just clips it to the back post. Medine gets up and it's off target. Well, he was the right man to aim for, wasn't he, Gary Medine? He just leans up. He gets up above Liam Bridcut. He actually doesn't even need to get up above Bridcut. He just goes around the right-hand side of him. He just tries to loop it over the keeper, and in the end, he's off target. TJ Aoma. Forward he comes. Now it's to Callum Morton. Good challenge there by James Husband, who's had another excellent game in the Blackpool defence. Here's Medine. Anderson's to his left. He picks him out. He's got Jerry Yates to his right. Really good challenge by Bridcut. That was spot on by the Lincoln captain. Every challenge he makes now, he's got to be so careful. And in that position, in the range that Anderson found himself in, he had to get it right. And he did. And then the clearance goes all the way back to the Blackpool keeper, Chris Maxwell. As Keshi Anderson is down on the floor with 2 subs in the offing. It looks like it's going to be CJ Hamilton and Grant Ward, 2 players who didn't play any part in the semi-final of the playoffs against Oxford, but will now play a part in the final. And maybe Dan Ballard's groin is coming back to haunt him, as he might have to be replaced. As there will be the first stoppage in play, and Neil Critchley and Michael Appleton can give instructions to their players. And Lincoln are also going to make an alteration as Anthony Scully is going to be introduced. Their second top goal scorer will look to come on and take this game to extra time for Lincoln, as that is what they're pretty much hoping for, or even better yet, try and spark a comeback that will see them go from 2-1 down to maybe 3-2 winners. We have seen it in football before. So changes will be made. Keshi Anderson is to be replaced. And off goes the former Swindon man. He's had another good afternoon. Such an important player to this Blackpool side and has been all season. Promotion winner with Swindon. Now looks to be on the verge of a promotion with Blackpool 12 months down the line. And also coming off looks to be Elliot Embleton, as CJ Hamilton will come on for him. So the second and third changes rather have been made for Blackpool, with Ward on and Hamilton on as well. As Embleton, the Sunderland loanee, is off. And there's also another change. Grant Ward is on as well, as Anderson goes off with an injury. And of course will go off just behind the goal, where those Blackpool fans will be, and no doubt giving him a good round of applause. And George Grant comes off with Anthony Scully coming on. So George Grant, the Lincoln top goal scorer, is replaced by the one just below him in the scoring stats, as Anthony Scully, the former West Ham youngster, comes on, looking to be Lincoln's saviour as we're entering the final 10 minutes of the playoff final. Medine flicks on for Yates. Aoma with the header away. Here is now Conor McGrandles. Out to the right with Regan Poole. Now Liam Bridcut. Ball through to Morton. This could be the moment. Just couldn't quite get the touch right, could he? It went away from him. Dan Ballard just about did enough, but he sticks his thumb up in the air as he knew he was nearly in there to get a shot at goal. Really good lofted ball by Bridcut. You think Morton's going to get it under control. It just goes away from him right at the last minute. And you can just see by his reaction, he's so close to getting it under control. Dan Ballard was with him all the way. And I think he just about did enough as well. Stewart clambers all over the back of Morgan Rogers and has won a free kick. Dan Ballard has actually won that free kick, the Arsenal loanee, and he's got it right on the halfway line. 9.5 minutes to go of the League One playoff final. Blackpool 2, Lincoln 1. Very different playoff final to the one yesterday. The game was over really after about 65 minutes after Jay Fulton was sent off, in which Brentford were allowed to enjoy the final sort of 20-25 minutes. But here, it's going to feel like a real nervy 10 minutes for Blackpool, who are within touching distance of a return to the Championship after 6 years. CJ Hamilton with the cross. It's a high one for Yates to attack over his head. Tayo Edun away. Scully and Turton will chase. It's too much for Scully to chase. Ballard just chips it out for a throw. As the playoff kings look, they're going to strike again. They've going into these playoffs, they've won 5 in 8. It's going to be 6 in 9. 1992 they were winners. 2001, 2007, 2010 and 2017. They're going to repeat what they did 30 years ago in their first triumph. 29 years ago in their first triumph, it looks like, and get their hands on the playoff trophy once more. As Scully's cross is straight into Chris Maxwell. He just takes it on the chest and just keeps the ball in his hands. And Tony Harrington's now going to be aware of a little bit of time wasting from Chris Maxwell, I expect. He'll, of course, want him to just kick the ball back into play and just carry on with the game and urge him on. Kicks it to Yates. Walsh with the clearance away, and then Regan Paul clears it off Gary Medina for a throw, and this is a chance for Blackpool to push up and pen Lincoln in. Lincoln had just got out to just head this away from a dangerous area as the Lincoln fans look on as their chances of getting into the Championship are slipping away. Remember, they lost 2 playoff finals in Cardiff. They've never lost a playoff final in Wembley up until now, but it looks like it's going to happen here. Paul's throw was headed away by Garbutt into Dougal's path, but Lincoln do eventually get it away. Tayo Edun now. McGrandles goes down. He's took a bit of a whack on his ankle. Look for Morton. He gets up with his head. Took under control by Kevin Stewart. Tries to find CJ Hamilton. Good sliding challenge by Regan Paul. A vital one as well because it looked like it was going to run on through to Hamilton. Here is Paul in the middle now to Morgan Rogers. He outstretches to get under control, but it's cleared by Grant Ward. Now Jerry Yates. Got the assist for Kenny Dougal's second goal. Here he is now to Grant Ward, the substitute. Dougal, the 2-goal hero. Stewart to Gary Medine. Stewart will get it back. Now up to the left, he goes to CJ Hamilton. He will just run at anybody, and he's going to run at Regan Paul. On the left, cross goes in. Medine attacks, good head away by McGrandles. Here's Stewart. Tries to poke it to Grant Ward, but Lincoln do enough to come away with it. Here's Regan Paul. Going down is Morton. Tony Harrington says no free kick. He's certainly not given a lot for Lincoln in this second half, and now he does eventually give it after a little bit of deliberating, and he's going to issue a yellow card for James Husband. Well, that was a foul. He knows it as well. Yeah, he's put on his shirt. It's an easy spot for the referee, and he eventually knows that it wasn't the right decision. To be fair, as he turns round, you can just sort of see Husband just not letting go of Morton, and it was a pretty easy decision for him. 3 of the back 4 of Blackpool have been booked in Ballard, Husband and Garbutt. Now it's with McGrandles. It's Blackpool 2, Lincoln 1 with 5 minutes to go. Johnson with the cross. Morton attacks it, but heads it over the bar. He got himself in the middle of the sandwich between Husband and Ballard and got up above the pair of them, but he just could not keep it on target. Yeah, it's a real good cross by Johnson. He just takes the flight. It just flies in the air. Enough for Morton to attack in it, but he just can't keep it down, can he? And get it over Maxwell. Enough to get it over into the goal. Well, the West Bromwich Albion loanee has been lively since he came on in place of Hopper. Probably what they missed today more than anything else. Ayoma heads it to Ballard, who just clears it away straight to Regan Paul. What Blackpool don't want to do is look nervy now as we enter the final 5 minutes. They are within touching distance of the Championship and joining Hull City and Peterborough United in the second tier, where, of course, West Bromwich Albion, Sheffield United and Fulham will await in the second tier from the Premier League is Anthony Scully. Do Lincoln have other ideas? Scully with the cross, not a bad delivery. And it came off the wrong side of CJ Hamilton. Shot comes back in by Bridcut. It's just gone off a Blackpool leg. I think it was Luke Garbutt it came off, and they just about do enough there to just clear it away. Ball looking for Medine. Palmer's come from his goal and then just checks back and then just gives it to Joe Walsh. Tayo Edun now to Anthony Scully, who's just staying on that touchline. Gives it back to Tayo Edun now. Is this just a bridge too far for Michael Appleton's Lincoln? They've done it once in terms of standing up and being accounted for and just doing what they had to do and getting themselves that one game extra. Of course, this is their 60th game of the season in what's been a marathon campaign for them, of course, in which they've had the playoffs, the Papa John's Trophy semi-finals to contend with. They've really done the full yards, haven't they, in what's been the craziest of seasons. Really had to catch up on fixtures more than most in League One. Medine flicks it on looking for Yates. Joe Walsh takes under control. Back to Alex Palmer. Blackpool now are just trying to hold on to what they've got. Yates and Medine have just almost stayed high, but just won't do any pressing, won't do any chasing of any kicks from defenders or Alex Palmer. Ayoma with the high ball. Only straight to Luke Garbutt. Now it's with Dan Ballard. Lofts it forward for Grant Ward. Going to take it around Joe Walsh. He just didn't get a touch to it. Just wanted to just wait for the bounce. And then Joe Walsh was there to slide in. Lincoln are going to make a change very soon. Here is Morgan Rogers. He goes for the curler and wide. Well, that's the closest he's come in this playoff final. Morgan Rogers, and it wasn't a bad effort, but it wasn't one that was going to go on target. Yeah, had Maxwell dive in to his left, but it was well off target from Morgan Rogers. But he got in that right position, didn't he? And just couldn't get it into the back of the net or on target. Lewis Montsma's come on for Joe Walsh in the final 3 minutes, 2 minutes of this playoff final. Those Lincoln fans, some of them with hands on their heads as they know that time is running out and they're going to have a miserable day at Wembley. As the ball is flicked on by Yates, it's going to run on through to Palmer. Maybe we'll see Lewis Montsma almost act as a striker as it's getting into desperate mode for Lincoln, as they're going to probably have to go a little bit more direct now. Conor McGrandles gets it from Ayoma. Ayoma will get it back. They've just got to start sending it a bit long, put some pace on it. Montsma will attack. Dan Ballard with the header, and there's an offside flag as Lewis Montsma came back from an offside position to try and attack the ball from TJ Ayoma. Pass, and Blackpool going to make their last change. It looks like it's going to be Jordan Thornley who's going to come on. And it'll be interesting to see who he comes on for. Dan Ballard, of course, came into the final with a groin problem. It's managed to last him 89 minutes. It might see the end of him now. No, it's not. It will be Jerry Yates who comes off. So, smart move by Neil Critch as he intends for his side to just hold on. Jerry Yates, yes, he hasn't got a goal, but he's put a shift in. A man who's helped Swindon to the League One title, along with Keshi Anderson. Now alongside Keshi Anderson is going to, as it stands, help Blackpool back to the second tier. So Jordan Thornley will come on. Well, he's put one hell of a shift in, isn't he? Helped with the strikers, got an assist for Kenny Dougal. And of course, he came into the final knowing that he doesn't have his regular partner, Ellis Sims, alongside him. He's got to do a lot more to lead the line. And he's led it exemplary. Well done to him. Maxwell with the kick as play resumes. It's gone right into Lincoln's half. Gary Medine couldn't flick it on, and it's gone well above him. And out of play for a Lincoln goal kick. As we're into the final 15 seconds of normal time. There's probably going to be around about 3 or 4 minutes of stoppage time for Lincoln to try and get an equaliser. Here's TJ Ayoma. Short pass through the middle to Morton. He gets it to his right with Regan Poole. Tries to give it to Morton. Not the best pass laid on. Montsma closing Dougal down. It is 4 minutes that have been added on here in the League One playoff final. And 4 more minutes for Blackpool to hold on. Michael Appleton looks on with his hands on his hips. It's not really been his side's day, has it? Not really tested Maxwell enough. Not really frightened Blackpool enough, have they? As ball goes forward, away by Ollie Turton. Now it goes to Scully. Morgan Rogers is challenged well by Grant Ward. It's a Lincoln throw as the last touch has gone off. Grant Ward. Tayo Eden with the throw. Got to get it forward. Throws it to Scully. He gets it back. There's Tayo Eden. Tries to get past Grant Ward, and then he clips it forward into Callum Morton. Holding off Dan Ballard. Cross goes in. It's gone off Ballard. And it's a corner kick. They wanted a handball, but the corner is what they've got. It will be Anthony Scully to take right in front of those Lincoln fans, who are pretty much all to their feet now, being urged on in the final few minutes. As we're 90 seconds into stoppage time. Alex Palmer, the goalkeeper's gone up. We saw Allison score a few weeks ago. What a story that would be if he could score in the playoff final. The West Bromwich Albion loanee. Scully with the delivery. Away by Jordan Thornley. And then Rogers just couldn't put it back in. Good chasing by CJ Hamilton. Bridcut tries to get under control. Not the best touch. Through to Johnson. That's a lovely dummy from McGrandles. He's fouled by Kenny Dougal. Free kick given away by the Australian as he just pushes the ball away. And that is a yellow card. I think actually not for the foul, but for the fact he actually just threw the ball away in a rather petulant fashion. There's no doubt about it. Catches McGrandles. He just comes flying in, but his feet are out there. He sort of tucks his knees in. He does catch him. Pretty easy booking. Ball will be delivered in by Anthony Scully. Palmer's up there once more. They're all just camped on the edge of the box. Blackpool have got a very high line. Lincoln now just hope that they don't have an offside in this. Ball goes in. Ayoma attacks it. Turton gets a touch to it. Ayoma tries to get away from CJ Hamilton. He's just got to clear it now, which he does. Bridcut's the only one back inside Lincoln's half. Lofted high ball. In it goes. Montsma attacks. It's headed behind. Here's the chance. And it fell to Regan Paul in a real good position. Two Blackpool defenders both went to attack it. They were both taken out of it. They headed it straight to Regan Paul. It was Dan Ballard that did it. And Regan Paul just rushed it. And it was a really poor attempt that has gone sailing over Maxwell's crossbar. But that might be the best chance they get to equalise. Well, he knows, does he, Michael Appleton? And so do those fans. They know it's a big, big chance. And that might be the only one that they get, as I've just alluded to. But he's got to stay composed. He's just got to work the goalkeeper at least. Philip, though, if that was maybe Scully, Rogers or Johnson, that's probably ending up in the back of the net or a save from Maxwell at the very least. Lewis Monter's receiving treatment for a head injury, so he will go beyond the 4 minutes at least. Maybe another 30 seconds of it. Maybe another minute. Who knows? But Kenny Dougal is the man of the hour at the moment, the hero for Blackpool. What a season he's had. The Australian, as the 2 goals are going to be showed again. The first one hit with a lot of power, a lot of swerve on it that took it away from the goalkeeper, Alex Palmer. And then the second one, he hit it straight as an arrow, as a cleanest strike as you will see. And he just put it right into the bottom corner of Palmer's goal. It was to his right again. It was the same position, same outcome for the Australian, as Blackpool are so close now. They can touch the champagne, as Lewis Montsman now has a bandage round his head. Neil Critchley remains the calmest man in the place. We saw Thomas Tuchel last night in the Champions League final pretty much just get the fans' voices to just sail them through. Neil Critchley just looks at the pitch and just stays so calm. Montsma trots off for now, as the Blackpool fans wave their scarves in the air and their arms lofted. They know that they are there, pretty much. Maxwell will take the kick. Montsma's running back on, so we're back to a full quota of players for both. Medine gets it under control, but there's a foul in there. As Lincoln will take this free kick, it will be Brickett to take. Well, he leaves it for Alex Palmer, who's come a long way from his goal to take it. He must be about 30 yards away from it. In it goes. Looks for Monsma. He flicks it on. Away by Jordan Thornley. Good header. Monsma tries to get around Grant Ward, who just gives it back. He looks for Turton, but Scully pounces on it. Can that ball go in from Scully? He's been held onto by Ward, has he? Referee says no. Scully's trying to get around Ballard, who stands firm. Brilliant defending. And it's away by Stewart, but can only clear it straight to McGrandles. And CJ Hamilton with a vital challenge. He's got Medine to his right. Good challenge by Tyowidden. And then McGrandles is able to give it to Liam Bridcut, but that will be that. Blackpool's love affair with the playoffs continue. Their 6th playoff win in 9 attempts. And this club, who just a few years ago was on its knees, very much had fans boycott and was a not nice club to be around. But the joys are back as a new owner, new hope, and a new team has emerged to be part of this glorious history of this great football club. Blackpool worthy winners. And Neil Critchley, in his first season as manager of this famous old club, has taken them back to the Championship after 6 grueling years in which the Oystons pretty much just took the love out of the club. And they've had new hope, and it's new beginnings and new glories that await as Simon Sadler, who bought the club at its lowest ebb, has given the keys to Neil Critchley to build another great Blackpool team. And they have done it at Wembley yet again. When they come to this stadium, they have so much fun, so much joy. They never seem to leave empty-handed. And history has repeated itself as the Tangerine Army are going to be going to the Championship. West Bromwich Albion, Sheffield United, Fulham, Bournemouth, Swansea will be coming to Bloomfield Road next year. Full time in the League One playoff final. Blackpool 2, Lincoln City 1. Blackpool promoted to the Championship.
Thank you very much, Matt. Excellent coverage there of a fantastic playoff final from Wembley Stadium. Of course, the League One final. And, who would your man of the match be? Would it be Kenny Dougal, or have you got other names in your hat as well that you're looking for potential man of the match candidates?
Well, he's the match winner, isn't he? Kenny Dougal has to get it for me. Superb in the midfield. He really does a job in there. And obviously, he took his 2 goals absolutely superbly. 2 very different finishes, but he was in the right position at the right time to put it in the back of the net and to win it for Blackpool. So, an easy candidate for man of the match, Mike.
Okay, and he's had a fantastic, couple of goals today. The first goal and the second goal were quite similar, in fact, in the way that he took them as well. And he was a fantastic player today for Blackpool. Is one of the main reasons as to why they've gone on and won this playoff final. And of course, the side that have finished 3rd have beaten the side that finished 5th as well. So you can see quite a lot of Blackpool fans there jubilating, all in jubilation, and of course the players are all dancing on the pitch, jumping up and down as well. And you can see the fans there, what it means to them. And of course, it's great to have the fans back in at Wembley Stadium to celebrate with their side as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what makes it extra special, isn't it? I mean, obviously, Wickham didn't get that glory last year of winning at Wembley in a playoff final in front of their supporters, but obviously Blackpool get it here, and it's just fantastic, isn't it? And look what it means to those players celebrating as well. And those supporters, because as I alluded to, Blackpool's fans, they were, of course, here 4 years ago in the playoff final. A lot of that crowd wouldn't have been here. They were boycotting. There was so much hatred and ferocity and, being vociferous to the Oystons, but there's been new hope. It's just changed, and it almost feels like a new club has rose, isn't it? And the good times, it almost feels like, well and truly back with the Tangerines.
Absolutely, and do stay with us as well. We will be bringing you the trophy presentation to see Blackpool go up and lift the trophy. We are going to bring you that as well in just a matter of moments' time. But Blackpool have been fantastic today, and as we said at half time, were much the better side, and they continued that on into the second half as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I just thought there was a real element of control about them. I mean, for Michael Appleton and Lincoln, I think they've got to be a little bit disappointed that they didn't really lay too much of a glove on Blackpool, and they still stay solid, I mean, obviously, they changed tactics, Lincoln, didn't they? They brought on big Lewis Montsmo, who's obviously got, 8 goals in his debut season in English football to try and get flick-ons, try and get in behind the Blackpool defence. I thought Ballard and Husband were absolutely sensational again. What a performance they put in. They just stood firm. Lincoln didn't really have many opportunities. You had that Regan Paul one. There was that Morgan Rogers chance. But apart from that, there was really nothing there. And, Neil Critchley is the man who's masterminded this Blackpool side to promotion. He's loving every second of it, isn't he? But, yeah, I thought they were worthy winners. And, that's as good a display you're going to see in a playoff final from any side. And Blackpool certainly showed that today.
Absolutely, and you mentioned the centre-back partnership there with James Husband and Dan Ballard as well. I'm absolutely delighted for Dan Ballard, of course, being an Arsenal fan myself. And in fact, Dan Ballard was very local. He was actually born here in Stevenage, where I am as well. And it's great to see Dan, obviously is not too sure what the future holds for him. But, if he's not in the plans for Arsenal, then why not, stay at Blackpool and have a real good opportunity with them to see what he can do in the Championship next season. Either way, it's a real big achievement for Dan. Of course, he's been injured in recent years as well. And the fact that he's come on leaps and bounds, I'm delighted for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, Neil Critchley knows the youth setups in and around top clubs. He worked at Liverpool, nurtured some great players, didn't he? Helped Trent Alexander-Arnold on the path to being, a real unbelievable talent, and obviously helped players by days gone by as well, as much as anything else. But, he's found these players. Dan Ballard from Arsenal, Ellis Sims from Everton, on, loans. He's bought 3 transfers in. Luke Garbett from Everton. Dimitri Mitchell from Manchester United. And, of course, he's got experience in there as well from football leagues, in the past seasons. Anderson, Medine, Hamilton. Anderson, Hamilton, Ward, Ekpiteta, Dougal, people like that. He's just built a solid team. It's a young squad. It's a hungry squad. And I think a lot of people will, in this division, look at this Blackpool side and think, we can build a model like that. And it's come as well from a shrewd coach who's believed in his philosophy, and he's had time to build. A lot of owners can, more importantly, pull the plug. But Simon Sadler and the Blackpool hierarchy didn't do that. They trusted the process. They believed in Neil Critchley, and it's led to them being back in the Championship. Unbelievable, given that they were in the bottom 4 at one stage in the campaign.
Absolutely, and they've got some real big fixtures to look forward to next season. The likes of Fulham and Sheffield United and West Brom as well, and of course, Nottingham Forest. The likes of Blackburn Rovers as well, Queens Park Rangers. Swansea. They've got some really big, fixtures in that list. Of course, a couple of derbies in there as well that I'm sure they'll be looking forward to, and it's fantastic for Blackpool Football Club to be on the rise again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really historic club, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people sort of my age and probably your age won't really understand the glorious history of Blackpool. They won the FA Cup in 1953. They've had some great players down the years. Jimmy Arfield, Stanley Matthews, of course, 2 statues that sort of are at Bloomfield Road. And they're a club with a proud history. They were in the Premier League a decade ago. And they've had a real harsh fall and a horrible fall. But it does feel like they're really on the rise, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And the players are going up now to collect their medals as well. So I'll hand back over to you, Matt, if that's all right for a moment.
Well, yes, this is a special time for any player receiving a winner's medal in a playoff final. For some of these players, it's the finest moment of their careers. Of course, Chris Maxwell was an unused sub in the playoff final 2 years ago with Charlton Athletic. Of course, he's had a good experience there 2 years ago, and then flash forward in that time, he's, of course, played a huge starring role in them getting promoted. Gary Medine, promoted from League One before with Sheffield Wednesday, adds another one to the list. Jerry Yates, second promotion in a matter of 2 years after guiding Swindon to League Two. Kevin Stewart, of course, a man that Neil Critchley knew from his Liverpool days. Jordan Gabriel, of course, on loan from Nottingham Forest. He, of course, is a playoff winner. Luke Garbett, he's a former Everton man. And James Husband, who's got Championship experience. And Neil Critchley, a man who came here, of course, with a great reputation at Liverpool, even managed 2 first-team matches, come to Blackpool and has been an absolute revelation. And Chris Maxwell, Last but not least is the last player to receive his medal, the captain, with orange and white ribbons around the trophy. Blackpool League One playoff winners again. The playoff kings strike, and they are championship bound. As Swansea, Bournemouth, West Bromwich Albion, Sheffield United will be coming to Bloomfield Road. They can look forward to local derbies in Preston and Blackpool coming to Bloomfield Road. But what a special day it is once again at Wembley Stadium for the Tangerines. And Simon Sadler on the pitch, sprayed in champagne to lift it up in the air. This club on its knees, very much out of love with its people and its town, very much has its love back and is very much on its way up. Blackpool 2020-2021 League One playoff winners.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everyone that's listened in as well. We're going to wrap it up there. And, of course, we are back tomorrow for the League Two playoff final as well to seal the trio of the games that we're going to be covering across the platform on the Commentary Hub this weekend, the bank holiday weekend, of course. Brentford promoted yesterday, Blackpool promoted today. Who's it going to be tomorrow? Will it be Morecambe or will it be... who are they playing? I'm trying to remember who they're actually facing now. Will it be Morecambe or... Hold on a second. Will it be Newport County who get promoted into League One? But as it stands, from this League One final, Blackpool are promoted to the Championship. Brentford are Premier League yesterday as well. And let's see whether it's Morecambe or Newport who can follow suit tomorrow to get promoted into League One, where, of course, they will be facing off against Lincoln City in league action. As you've been listening to the Commentary Hub. Thank you, Matt, as always, for your excellent work as well. Russ put a comment in there saying great commentary as well, so he was tuned in and listening. But, just looking there at Ollie Turton, I'm sure he's probably very relieved as well, the man that gave Lincoln a lead after about 47 seconds there. Within the first minute, he's probably the most relieved man on the Blackpool, squad there at the moment. And Kenny Dougal's got him out of jail a little bit today. But Ollie Turton and Blackpool are going to be playing Championship football next season, and they've come a long way since the Oystons and since some of the protests and everything that came with it as well. So join us tomorrow for Morecambe and Newport for the League Two final with Nicholas Jones. But from myself and from Matt as well, it's Blackpool who are promoted to the English Championship. Thanks for listening, everyone.